This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to your safari in the afternoon towards the sunset. Look at that beautiful view we're starting up with from Tswalu Kalahari. Just a fantastic way to start the afternoon. On the plans for this afternoon, we're going to be trying to go out for the African wild dogs to the far west of the reserve. And today, the team in the Kalahari is me, Ewan, behind the steering wheel, and right behind the camera today is Morgan. We will be continuing driving down the road, seeing if we can get those dogs today. So we're about to cross over these dunes, and just to see if we can get to the west as quick as possible. And just see what we can do to actually get to find these dogs for the afternoon. It sounds like they have gone quite far out to the west today, as there was some vehicles today actually out in the west with those dogs this morning actually. And so we're going to be continuing driving out towards the west. It is, like I said, quite a bit of a distance, so we got to just keep on rolling the wheels a bit, as it is quite a bit of a distance. And those dogs do move quite fast, actually, as they keep on going. So yeah, the plan is obviously to find them where they're still fast asleep. Yeah, and welcome to our beautiful live safari to the African bush this afternoon. It's just so amazing. So as I was saying, we are continuing further west, and through this area while we're driving, there is some great possibilities in these dune streets. As you can see, it's quite nice and open in this area, where we could potentially pick up on some cheetah as well as we continue going further west out to the thicket line in the west and so on. Those dogs have been in that area for quite a long day. And so we're gonna just keep on going. Looks like there's a beautiful roan antelope just out and about in the dune streets over there. Quite a nice sharp drop over here as well. Just beautiful. Stunning. A couple of wattled starlings just coming over to the top edge of the bushes there. A couple of intra-African migrants just comes through there. But yeah, starting to start the afternoon with this beautiful light casting over the dunes as we travel further out west as well. Really gorgeous. Timothy, you commenting you would like to see a live wild dog hunt this afternoon. That would be very, very special actually, to get to see something like that on live TV. My apologies. So we'll see if we can get those dogs first things first. And that'll be really special to get to follow them in a hunt as well. But even just to see the dogs again would be really, really awesome as well, to see them in that area, because we also haven't had them in a couple of days on the screen. It's amazing how the vegetation suddenly just comes a bit more to a denser environment as we're traveling through some of these strips as well. But yeah, the area where the dogs are at, as far as I understand, it's a bit more or less like this actually that we're driving into. And so we're going to take you over to a nice weather report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eco Training Pridelands, where there is some blue sky. Can you believe it? It's just creeped out and the sun is shining from the west, although there is some cloud still behind us in the east. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by Johan for his last try with me here in Pridelands for this time around anyway, and we are very excited to have you with us, very excited to have you on board, and we're just going to spend a moment or two having a look at the sky, listening to some birds, and allowing you opportunity to send any questions through to Pridelands here, specifically what you'd like answered. Our plan this afternoon is to follow up on some pretty fresh leopard and lion tracks this morning that were sort of all hanging out together in the same place. He's gone to this branch here, Johan, just on the right of the road. It was pretty fresh because we followed that lioness all the way from this side yesterday morning, and then we came this way this morning and we found fresh tracks of a lioness going back. And there were two leopard tracks, looked like two females, possibly an adult and a youngster, and hyenas following them. So we're going to go scratch around for that. So look at our male redback shrike. Now just allow you a moment to listen. And with regards to the area being open to Balule and the Greater Kruger, there's always the possibility of wild dogs. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Taylor or Mike have shown you wild dogs here before. If I just recall that from being in Djuma and listening to updates on the radio. But wild dogs don't have territories per se, so they move in very large areas. Even fences don't keep them in, so you even do find them outside of these reserves, but unfortunately they don't do very well with farmers, so wild dogs are preferred to be inside these reserves. As we watch our fork-tailed drongo, we're really going to make Johan work for his supper tonight, everybody. The last supper, but he will be in Djuma in a few weeks. And it is Sunday, fork-tailed drongo perches. It is the end of the week, again the end of the month. Very interesting how the end of January was also on a Sunday. It's a shorter month though, so a good time to reflect back on what you've achieved this month. Good time to reflect on what you'd like to achieve in March. Can you believe it's March tomorrow? I can't quite believe it. The year is flying by, almost as fast as wild dogs move. And Kerry, some of the trees can stay green. I can point out a few of them today, but a lot of them lose their leaves. And most of the grasses will go dormant. If we do get late rain, which out of season rain in our winter months, then the grass can flush. But it's not common. But all the trees you see now on that side, framing all the marulas, there's a couple of knobthorns, all of those trees will lose all of their leaves. It's generally the water-loving trees that occur down in the drainage lines that have access to water that are able to maintain their leaf coverage. Jackalberries, guarries, to name but a few. Sun baking down. So obviously our camp is quite close to a dam, and so it was just drying out. That had huge rain, obviously, as we have had at Djuma as well. And the dam was full to the point that made camp life quite difficult. And for the last 2 weeks or so, there's been no rain until 2 nights ago. And we had 100 mils So the dam level has risen again, but it's still an acceptable level. That noise you could hear is that of a rattling cisticula. One of the loudest birds for its size out here. It's actually at the top of that knobthorn. Just underneath that top leaf layer. There he is up there. You can see him. Quite a long tail. It's a very nondescript little bird. So he's got no coloration to stand out. And so his territory and his bird song, his attraction of mates, is all done through singing from a very high perch. Otherwise no one would see him.
Just look at that. It is absolutely incredible. And as far as I can see, that all falls within the reserve. So it is a vast landscape, but we are gifted with these incredible things, you know, the wildcats, the aardvark, you name it. It just keeps on delivering. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here.
And when you think it could not get better, Mother Nature says, hold on tight.
Oh my word, that is gorgeous. We are cooking on gas this afternoon.
Have a look at what we've got. Look at how this is the best day of my gutting career so far.
We have a baby pangolin, We're just gonna go very quietly. There's your aardvark. And for those of you who've never seen one, this is one of the big safari specials on any reserve.
I'm just holding my cap because otherwise it's going to blow away, and with this storm coming towards us.
Absolutely beautiful to be able to see water flowing in this volume in the Kalahari. Oh, look at that. You can see the structural component of these flowers. It is perfect. Such a treat to be in and amongst these incredible insects. How lucky are we? You can see how close they are to the vehicle. Very curious.
Oh, you can do it! There we go. We made it over. Whew. But look at that view. That's absolutely stunning.
You can see how they're going into stalking mode. Okay, there we go. This one female is going to walk straight past the car now. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. I mean, do we just not have the best jobs in the world? That was epic.
Good afternoon, fine folk. How are you? I am well. It's me, Trishala. I've got Darby on camera, and there's actually some sun. That is awesome. We're here on Djuma Game Reserve, and as you can see, we're already off-road. And that's because the lions were around this area, which is right in front of one of our lodges, Tumbeta House. But other vehicles have tried and been unsuccessful in finding them. But they haven't seemed, or didn't seem to move very far. This is a horrible thing to off-road with. It is none other than the Strychnos of black monkey orange. But we finally made it through. There we go. So this is where the lions were, the Telematis, and that's what we're following up on today. And this is really close to quarantine. And that's very interesting because that zebra with the broken hoof, the one that's limping about, is on quarantine and is a little bit separated from the other zebras. The rest of it's herd. But apart from that, there's also a whole host of different antelope on quarantine, which would tell me that the lions have moved from here. Or maybe we'll be lucky and they're still around. And we might see a hunt on quarantine, which would be amazing because it's nice and open. Unfortunately, I don't see anything. And I definitely have not already gone onto quarantine because there were no tracks there. Lion tracks alone, but apart from that, they're nice and big, so they're easy to see. Let's have a look around here. So basically they were off to my left, but the actual lodge is there, so we're just going to have a look around here. Don't hear anything and don't see anything, but it is getting warmer. So maybe they've gone flat, but it's really overcast, so I think that the sun's just peeked through for us to say hello, in fact, and it's going to be overcast again soon. So we're going to remain in this area and see what happens, but we'll send you over to Steve in Pridelands.
Thanks, Trish. Well, good luck. Good luck with your lions. We just got into the area where we started following this morning. I'm going to try to find you a nice spot. The elephants have walked over it, but the tracks are steaming fresh this morning. 2 leopards and a lioness, followed by a hyena. It's hard to think the hyena was last, and I think the leopards are first. So it's not uncommon for lionesses, especially if one's on its own. It's kind of a nice strategy that there's a leopard track with the hyena, which is actually quite a nice sort of comparison. I just hope I can position you nicely, Jan. Can you see them over my shoulder there? Okay, let me just jump off here. I'm going to be off comms for a second, but I do have an umbilical cord that I can unravel. Hopefully long enough. Okay, so it's not uncommon. Oh, there we go. Okay, very nice to see. Here's the 2-lobe track of the hyena. There's the kidney-shaped toe and the claw mark. Very, very easy to see. And then in front of it is 1 leopard and 2 leopards here. The size difference quite noticeable. Also, you can see where the soil has been pushed up in the middle. Not easy to see it though, but the size much, much different from this hyena. So it's a bigger hyena, and this is probably a female leopard with a sub-adult, youngish sort of youngsters. A little bit further up here is where we had lion track. There's also lion track back there, but not very clear. Okay, so we're going to see if we can follow. We were following up this morning, but we didn't have any success. But that's okay. We'll have to work this area. But what I was saying before is it's not uncommon for... Where is my earpiece gone? Sorry. It's all cables. All cables. I've lost it. Yeah, there we go. It's not uncommon for a lioness to behave like a male lion. We all know male lions are the biggest scavengers around. They will steal food from anybody. And a single lioness on her own, well, she comes in second as a scavenger. We saw that one youngish lioness of the Unkuhumas, I think with Lauren a while ago, stealing that kill from Tundi. It's how they get by. It's how they get by. And it's possible that the lioness would have been following. It's maybe This leopard actually had made a kill and has taken her cub to it. And the lioness picked up on the scent. But we will check. Down by the drainage here is where they went in. So we're going to have to work that area a little bit to see if we can be lucky. There's lots of hyena activity on this property. Not as much lion at the moment, but that time will come. The leopards are definitely here. Okay, so Michelle, age 10, wants to know why does a hyena follow a leopard? Now, Michelle, hyenas are very good. Well, they're very efficient hunters, first of all, but they also are quite renowned as scavengers, and leopards are pretty good hunters as well. So a hyena is being opportunistic. It's going to follow the leopard in hopes of getting a meal. We see it on Djuma all the time. They steal from the leopards. If a leopard makes a kill and can't get it up a tree, hyenas will steal it. If it can get it up a tree, they will wait underneath as the carcass diminishes in size and gets less and less sort of rigid, and becomes quite difficult for the leopard to hold it in the tree. If you've ever tried to hold or put a towel on a hook that it doesn't really want to stay on, it just becomes very movable and falls down. No matter how hard you try, eventually the weight of the towel just falls. So that sort of dead weight of a carcass in a tree often has the final effect of falling, and hyenas have learned to capitalize on that. Even if it's just some bones, a little bit of stomach, anything that falls down they will gobble up. And a lion, on the other hand, actually will be able to go up into that tree depending on the size and will be able to steal. So we were here this morning. We're going to just keep looking. If you would just check those trees there for me, Johan. Let's have a little scan, show everybody what we're looking at. Nice tall trees in the drainage that might potentially have an animal dangling or a couple of leopards sort of hanging around. This is the perfect place for a feline in the leopard category to sort of be and hang out. And as far as I was concerned, the tracks of the leopards seemed to go into this drainage, and then I lost them. And then a lioness track seemed to be a little bit further on, and she was running at one point. We did check the western boundary without any success, so just ran out of time this morning. So we thought maybe let's give it a bash. Johan would love to see a leopard before he leaves, although he has seen one with Taylor the other day, the pixie pant female. So I'm not even going to pretend to guess to tell you who I think one of these leopards could be, because, well, I really don't know. When I started at Djuma, everyone would always ask me, so who do you think it is? It's a male leopard, a female leopard. The rest of it comes with time. First find them and then we identify them. How does that sound? But they're not that relaxed in the daytime. So if it is that same lioness we saw yesterday, she'll be very approachable. Oh, well, very nice to hear. We're going to carry on here, see if we can find our lioness or even a couple of leopards, and, well, no one knows how to do that better. Interesting.
Lots of encouraging words, Stephen Bridge, but thank you very much. And I hope that you do find the leopard, and I hope that it's plain sight for you. As Steve mentioned, my name is Tristan on camera. I've got him for this afternoon, and it's lovely to be out back on Rusty. Missed Rusty out in the field, but Marcel came and delivered some much needed first aid to Rusty, and we are all good, and we are able to be out and about. You might notice that Rusty is very dirty at the moment. It's because I got stuck in Rusty this morning. I was doing some stuff trying to help Trish out this morning, and we got properly stuck in a river crossing, and we ended up painting Rusty with sand and mud. It was very fun. I had a great time this morning. honestly, it was a lot of fun. We had lots of laughs and eventually then got pulled out by Alex, which was great. Now there's a zebra. I'm not sure if Trish has shown you zebras already. I don't actually know where Trish went. I was late to the party because we were working on that and trying to get it sorted out. I'm going to try and pull it here so that we can get said zebra. Now, zebra, you are in a lot of trouble, I'm afraid, because unbeknownst to the zebra, the Talamati Pride is probably, from where it's standing now, I would say about 600 meters away. They're on the other side of Tumbeta camp at the waterhole. So the sighting's not open yet because there's still a guest in Tumbeta. So as soon as they're out and about, then we'll start to be able to go and view them. But they're sitting at the waterhole, and I'm pretty sure from there it's going to be up onto this clearing. And we know how efficient the Talamatis can be at hunting. So I wouldn't be surprised that this zebra, particularly as I only see this one by itself right now. There was 3 this morning, but there's only 1 now. There the other 2 are in the background. They're going to be prime targets for that pride. And with the way that the wind is blowing, it's still quite overcast. It's going to be perfect conditions for that pride to hunt and potentially find a good meal. So zebras, I'm afraid you're in for a rough night. Those lions are definitely going to come onto this clearing to see what's going on and try and see if they can find anything. Actually, funny enough, the guest was Jenny, who was on our drive with us recently from the Ticket to Dream, and she let me know that the lions were there, and we went across and had the lions from the hide. It was very, very cool, actually. The one little sub-adult was incredibly curious of this hide, and we had to vacate the hide as it approached a little bit too close for comfort in many ways. So that was pretty cool. But it bodes well for this afternoon for the lions to be kind of out and about. I think from that little area they'll come onto quarantine a little bit later. Veronica, why is this area called quarantine? Well, quite simply, this was an area where they quarantined wildebeest when there was a reintroduction of wildebeest back into the Sabi Sand system. This area was fenced off. The wildebeest were put inside and went through a quarantine period. Now, animals are often quarantined when they are released into a system because they might house something like foot and mouth, rinderpest, anthrax, any of those kinds of things, and they can then obviously transmit that to all the wild animals that are here already. And so this was kind of fenced off, and then the wildebeest were placed in it. It was a while ago, and those wildebeest, most of them, unfortunately, probably have been either killed by lions or various other predators, or have distributed back into the Kruger Park area. Remember, when that happened, it was when the Sabi Sands was still not open to the Kruger National Park. It was still a fenced-off reserve. The Sabi Sands has not always been a part of the greater Kruger National Park. It was its own property for a long, long time, and then eventually the fences came down and the animals were free to roam into the much bigger greater Kruger system. And so when it was still fenced, obviously populations needed to be much more managed than they are now, and there was less free movement, and so animals were put in and taken out in various other kind of ways that they manage the livestock numbers within a private sort of area. Luckily, I'm super grateful for the fact that nowadays we're part of this massive system, because it really does open the whole system out, and the management of the system can be basically left to the animals themselves. They're able to sort themselves out and control their numbers for the most part. The only thing that we as kind of humans need to just be a little bit careful about is the amount of water that we bring to the party, because with increased amounts of water can change the species profile quite drastically in favor of certain animals that are heavily reliant on water, and those that aren't often, unfortunately, are outcompeted and their numbers dwindle. And that's why a lot of the water holes within the Kruger system have been shut down, and that's to try and give a chance to the sort of more arid species animals like eland and rowan and sable and Liechtenstein's hartebeest, that all are in these kind of areas, or used to be a lot more in these areas and a lot more prolific, but since the increase in water, that's meant a huge increase in zebra, impala, and wildebeest numbers, which has caused grasses to be shorter. And in the case of particularly roan and sable, they like to, have their little ones in quite long grass as a protection factor. And so with the shorter grass has also meant more lions coming in because of more prey animals, and so the knock-on effects are quite big. So we just got to be a bit careful of that. But otherwise, animals in these kind of spaces, because of how big it is, are pretty good at managing their own numbers. And that's kind of achieving a far more natural balance by being part of the open system. At least these zebras are being clever and sitting in the middle of the open clearing. The grass is long enough that these lions, if they get down, will be able to kind of sneak along and be able to find kind of places to hide and hunt them. But they, a lot of members of the pride kind of try and move across this area. It's a possibility they do get spotted. Randall, what species of zebra do we get in South Africa? So we've got Burchell zebra, pretty much, or plain zebra, that runs pretty much throughout the middle, the country. It's pretty much spread all the way across. We do get Hartmann zebra. Is this zebra limping very badly? Can't see if it's walking or if it's just maybe it's got a little devil thorn in its hoof. This area is riddled with devil thorns. No, that is a definite bad limp. If the lions see that, that is cannon fodder for them. They will target that straight away. I wonder what's wrong with it. It doesn't look like there's any visible sign of any injury. Shame, zebra. Oof, you're going to be in trouble, I'm afraid, if these lions spot you. And that's exactly what lions are looking for. This is a prime suspect for being hunted. Animals with compromised abilities to get away are exactly what they're looking for. And I wonder if this didn't happen the other night, because I'll get back to the species of zebras in South Africa, but essentially there's Hartmann's and mountain zebra. We did have a thing called a quagga as well, but that's unfortunately extinct. But these zebras were involved in a hunt with the Nkahuma lionesses a few nights ago. 3 Nkahuma lionesses, and the reason why I know it was these zebras is because they chase zebras right down in the south of the reserve, and I think there was 7 or 8 in that particular herd. But the lions chased them, and we heard galloping, and we saw a split of the zebras. But there was a definite young zebra in amongst them. And here, there's these 3 zebras. One is this little foal. So I'm 99% sure it's them. And the next morning when I was out trying to just help with tracking team, I saw the tracks coming from that direction for these zebras. So maybe this injury was sustained in that. Often what happens when they run, and particularly in the long grasses that we've got now, much like with us when we're off-roading, every now and then you don't see a hole, like a little aardvark burrow or something like that. And I even remember commenting that night that the area that those zebras were being hunted in, and why we didn't really go off-road, is that it was full of aardvark holes in there. So you never know, maybe these lions chased these zebras and this zebra's foot just landed in one of those holes, and maybe a hyperextension, and it's caused either a break or a severe amount of ligament damage. It could be very, very possible, because that night I didn't notice any zebras limping, but it's definitely that group of zebras that came up here. They've split into 2, because when the hunt took place, we saw zebras running back to Little Gowrie and some coming out up into this section. So I wouldn't be surprised. But shame, this zebra's going to have a rough night. It's going to have to hope that these lions don't come up onto this clearing and spot it. They're going to have to hope that by some miracle the lions miss it completely. Because if they see it, and they see it walking the way it is, they're going to have a full go at this particular zebra. And, when you've got 14 lions or 15 lions, I don't know how many are there, I didn't see them this morning, then you know full well that they're going to try and get around the zebra. And I mean, if it can't run properly, we saw what they did to the wildebeest that were on quarantine a few weeks ago when they grabbed 3 of them. An injured zebra is gonna have a tough time of it. KB asking if zebras are able to live and then die of old age here. Essentially, yes, if they're not predated upon. But In a system like this, where you've got lions, leopards, hyenas, wild dogs, cheetah, most things don't live to old age. As they get older, so the condition of their body starts to deteriorate, and so they get slower, and then generally then picked off by the predators. When predators are hunting, if they run and they chase, and the herd is able to get away from one individual, that one individual stands a better chance of being killed. And so older specimens generally, unfortunately, don't make it out here. So I suppose in a way, yes, they're being allowed to live until old age, but in another way, no, because of the fact that they pretty much get preyed upon before the old age sort of figure gets to them. A prime example of that is something like a buffalo. Buffalo in most books will tell you that they'll live to about 20 years old. Now, in captivity, that's possible, but here in this reserve, with the number of lions around and hyenas around, most buffalo will be lucky if they get to 15. Their lifespan is much, much shorter, and that even goes for the predators too. The predators, in captivity, things like a lion can go over 20 years old, but now in these kind of areas, because of the density of other lions, most male lions are going to be very lucky if they make it to 14, let alone anywhere near 20. So it's a very, very big disparity, and it just goes to show you how hard life is out in the wild. It's a very different system compared to captivity in places like that. All right, well, we're going to do a loop around. Let's just check if the lions aren't out already and stalking. Otherwise, we're probably going to head off and try and see if we can find any sign of Tundi and Marips on Chitwa.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of Wild Earth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the Wild Earth Camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Pradens, where we haven't had any luck so far. The elephants have walked all over the area there. It is their want, they can do what they like. But interesting that a lioness, if it is the same one, walked all the way from here, all the way out, and then came all the way back to the same place. Now, it means one or two things, I suppose. One, she's got a den. Or two, or three. Two, she had a kill and came back. Or she collected someone and came back. Or it's another lioness entirely. We can always wonder, can't we? Lovely little, I don't know if the light's going to be a bit harsh there. Johan, will that do, that impala there? Marianne, I suppose, there's a number of unusual friendships that have been documented, but what I've seen was a buffalo at Djuma who was hanging around with a young buffalo, was hanging around with an elephant herd, and they weren't very happy with the buffalo. Obviously got displaced at some point and just kept following the herd around, and poor little fellow wasn't being tolerated by the breeding herd but just wanted some company and some attention. It was out in Treehouse for some time. I suppose there's nothing funnier than Taylor McCurdy's video that went viral on the dwarf mongoose and the hornbill. That was very funny to see. Obviously have a very symbiotic relationship, hornbills and dwarf mongoose apparently. One will alarm call, the other will help with the feeding. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go and watch it. The dwarf mongoose running in the road, and it ran up to a yellow-bill hornbill, I think it was, and then just played dead. And then it would sit up and look around and then play dead again. A term known as thanatosis, to play dead. So I thought that was quite funny. I'm trying to think what else I've probably seen. There's documents of leopards sort of looking after baboon babies after killing the mother, which was very, very interesting to witness. Eventually the young baboon actually died of exposure, but the leopard looked after it after killing its mother, which is very, very interesting. And there's also that story of the leopard cub in the Masai Mara who was sort of taken in by that lioness, even allowed to suckle. So, there's lots of those interesting stories around. But we're going to be moving around looking to see if any of our antelope species are going to shout for us, because it's gotten a bit windy. It has been windy, I suppose, most of the day, so it's a good opportunity for predators to be moving. But it is suddenly a bit warm and bright, as you can see. Brandy, what other animals play dead? Well, certain snakes do. Snakes do it very well. Be very careful. Up in the Highveld, we get a snake known as the rinkels, and it loves to play dead. And then when you grab it or try to move it, it bites you, so don't do that. I had a baby impala play dead with me once. We had a baby impala that got into our compound when I was still working at Singita, got into the sort of fence, and it was running up and down the fence, and so my friend went that way around, and I went this way, and it ran towards me, and when I went to grab it, it just dropped onto its side, all four legs. So I picked it up, its head was lolling, walked outside the fence, put it down, and it ran away. So that was very cute. That is very cute. And obviously, what is the purpose of playing dead, everybody? Cats, most predators, they respond to movement. So if you don't move, for some reason, you think that they'd still want to eat you because you're meat. But if you don't move, they don't feel the need to catch you. So apparently, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to going to North America and playing dead with a grizzly bear. Apparently that works. So we're supposed to play dead with bears, so I've been told. What other animals? I can't think of any that I've physically seen. I had a little ground beetle play dead with me yesterday. It was a little beetle. I'd never seen one of them before, a little velvet ground beetle. Very interesting. And as I went to photograph it, it just dropped on its side. All life gone from its body. Got another herd of impala. This is a bachelor herd. And one runs, they've all got to run. They don't like the wind, and they don't like... Oh, there's actually a female in there as well. Interesting. And her youngster. There's a few females, so this is still a little bit of a mixed herd. So the western sides of Pridens still exhibiting a bit of mixed herd behavior, whereas the eastern side is certainly showing... Sorry, the western side is showing, and this is the... I'm getting very confused with my easts and wests lately. We're on the western side of Pridens currently. I think I said that. Oh well. So a little lamb, a bit smaller than that one. That's behind mum. Actually a lot smaller, just a really little baby. And I picked it up. Head lolling, tongue out the side. I don't know if it had its tongue out the side, but the head was lolling. And I put it down, and that's a strategy of escape. Because essentially you stop fighting, and then the predator sort of stops trying to catch you, and then you get that moment where you can escape, and you do. And that is the primary strategy behind thanatosis. Okay, well, our impalas are moving into the thickets. We're going to move on, and we're going to send you over to Iran, who's got something special.
Welcome back, folks, and shall I say, voila, surprise, surprise. The Kalahari bush once again has surprised us. Look at that beautiful alpha male. Isn't he just so gorgeous? Really special. Look at those colors. So as we said from this morning, there was a vehicle that was here trying to follow up in the morning, and they have left them roughly in the area. We came to try to relocate and try to find them in this position. And yeah, we've been blessed once again with a stunning sighting. So it looks like these dogs are slowly but surely actually getting to a busier position, as it looks like they're moving a bit forward. Let's just move a tiny bit forward, see what's happening there, where they are going, and just shift a bit further down that direction. But so special that we could find them actually this early in the afternoon, just because it's a good time to be with them, being able to follow them from scratch as they would keep on going. There's looks like the beta female that just popped up out of the bush here on the side. We're going to just get to a better location where we can scan over all of them. And over this location, maybe just find a nice spot. That should we, is that good, eh? All right, let's pull a bit more to a better location here. You can see the beta female shifting out and about. Let's just stop here for now. We'll keep on shifting to better positions. You see the bellies are like halfway full almost, if I can put it that way. So which is meaning that, yeah, there's a bit of a greeting session as the beta female's just moving in there. And but yeah, it's a good situation that we're having here. It looks like they are going to move out most probably this afternoon, as they slowly but surely are showing quite a bit of activity. There, the alpha male, as he just got up, you can see that belly is quite at a good... Samantha, you're saying these wild dogs are gorgeous. It is such beautiful, especially looking at that, or so beautiful, shall I say, looking at these, at this alpha male especially, and the amount of white colors that's actually represented on that particular male. It's really, really awesome. And this is the beta male we're looking at here. Beautiful dark dog, actually a bit different as opposed to the alpha male that we've seen getting up there on his feet. But yeah, we are just so happy that we could locate them again this afternoon, as it's just such an incredible animal to view, being able to spend time with throughout the afternoon. And we are going to stay with them as long as they take us through the afternoon and see a bit what they're going to show us. And as we had that comment a bit earlier, that somebody was saying that they're very keen to see these dogs on a hunt. that it'd be really cool to see that once again. Being able to follow them on a hunt be really special. It's amazing to actually see these animals like this. Now, to just mention once again about the collars, you'll see this beta male, especially, he's got the collar, or as you guys would say, literally talking about the beta male for the bit of accent situation happening there. But yeah, the collars on the dogs is very, very important, having them on the dogs as it is, because wild dogs, I mean, as it is in this country, there's about 350 to 400 dogs left in the wild, and their numbers are fluctuating quite a lot. But bottom line, in South Africa, with their numbers being so low, and Tswalu being one of the greatest locations, part of the many different locations trying to bring up their numbers up and going, and restoring their numbers, we got to have to monitor these dogs daily. So the way it works is that we have a conservational tool that we look up every day on the tool as it's updating daily, like about 2 to 3 times a day. And so we actually can monitor the movement. So that would help us actually to track these animals a bit better. It's not a live update, but the collar itself will tell the bigger story of, okay, they've moved through this area, 8 o'clock this morning, they've been in that area, or whatever the case might be. And so that's where we could start following on those tracks. As you can see, the light around, from a different point of view, the light around this animal is very sharp at the moment, as it's still fairly early in the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, you can see these dogs are already starting to show some activity where they're thinking about movement for the afternoon. My feelings about this is, or my sentiment is that they're going to go north this afternoon as the wind is coming out of that direction. But yeah, so happy that we could find them fairly early in the afternoon, because once they're active and they keep on going, it's quite difficult to follow them. David, you're asking what is the best time for the pack to start hunting? Generally, it's around, like the cheetahs, around crepuscular times, dawn and dusk. And you would get to a point where, like first break of light, especially if they're very hungry, first break of light early in the morning, then they would start moving when it's still nice and cool, and they're very energetic as they just slept right throughout the night. And then, yeah, I mean, they will move until it gets fairly warm. And during that time, that is basically when they're blending in that very well in this conditions, in this environment. But apart from that, late afternoons, just about, I'd say, 40 minutes to an hour before sunset is a really good time. So in saying that, coming back to what I was saying earlier, this is why it's so great to find them fairly early in the afternoon, because anything could happen in these conditions. Like, these dogs could move at any given time. And once they're on the move, it's a trot of about 15 to 20 kilometers an hour. Sometimes if it's a slow trot where they're not really so much on a fast go, it comes down to about 5 to maybe 7 to 8 kilometers an hour. But once they've seen something and starting to chase it, yes, they can go long, long distances. And so to try to track them down once they're already mobile, up and going, that's when it becomes a bit difficult to find them. So it's good to track a set of tracks that from the morning where they've been mobile. And from there, this guy's just dumping a bit of the day's digestive system materials. But yeah, anyways, so good, very good actually to just have them, like I said, this time of the afternoon already. But so happy, and there's plenty more to come. We're going to send you over to Steve with something quite interesting.
Well, welcome back everybody. Welcome to a beautiful afternoon. It's shaping out to be. The mountains in the distance, the wind coming in from the south. There's a big system brewing down towards the south there, sort of southwest. We are here at Johanna, my favourite little watering hole. The only one we're actually able to provide you with any signal. At the moment anyway. Here's a beautiful, beautiful spot. And the activity has been around But we're just going to have to do a little bit more work. But I like to just sit like this sometimes anyway, and just enjoy the beautiful view. Mary, I don't do coffee after 3:30ish. I can, but it influences my evening. So no, we don't bring coffee out in the afternoon. Coffee is a very nice sort of morning ritual. Definitely do have coffee just before coming out. And that seems to keep me going until bedtime. So Johan and I shared our last coffee here on Providence this morning, which was quite lovely. At this very same watering hole, at a different spot, of course. And we're just hoping now that the wind's picked up. And obviously it's gotten a bit warm because of the sun. Maybe one of those cats, because there's definitely 3 of them around, will come down to drink. There is a bit of freestanding water out on the property still, but it's not a lot. So it's always worth checking these little watering holes. You never know, as you've all seen in the past, you never know what can happen. Sometimes we're just sitting quietly and something walks into frame. Anna-Marie, this is very peaceful. I'm not going to lie, it's really, I think, one of those special things to do is just sometimes switch off. The way things are looking, going to be a bumper of a sunset. I think we'll head over to Zebra Clearing for that one, Johan. We've had a good sunset there before. We've been trying to work out the best places on Providence to get a nice elevation where you can see the sun setting, and we've only really come across one good spot. Might be another one. That's where we're able to broadcast, of course. So we'd like to have a nice quiet moment with the sunset a bit later. Still some time, so I'm going to spend a bit more time working the other side of the drainage line that we were on before. And I was showing you those tracks earlier. Those are on the southern side of the drainage that feeds into this dam. So we didn't actually check on the northern side. So we're going to go see what we can find. As I said, we had a little bit more rain last night, so those tracks this morning were really nice to see, because some of them were in the mud and some of them were just scuffing that little layer of mud on the top. But already with this, just the temperature change there, those tracks are sort of drying out and looking much older. James, of course, these are called seasonal watering holes, and depending on the size of it and the amount of rain that's received, it has every likelihood of drying up. Only the deepest of reservoirs can hold water in the drought. but I believe that this one has been completely dry before. It doesn't have an enormous amount of aquatic bird life around, so it doesn't, to me, appear to be one that's had enormous amount of water for a long time. It needs to sort of build up accumulation of organic material, which will then bring in the necessary organisms and eventually huge amounts of life. Pretty much all the watering holes within the reserves should dry up every single year, but there are a number of them that are provided with water. A lot of people might say, but why do you do that? Well, at the end of the day, as large as the Kruger Park is, there are still animals here that have been prevented many, many, many years ago, before anybody knew any better, from migrating all the way to that mountain and over. And so because they've been fenced in, although it is a very large area, there has to be provision, there has to be management. And one of the most important management tools is water. As we all know through my posts and my discussions, water is the currency of life. Most of what we know of in life cannot survive without it.
February is the month of love, and nature is no exception. Tristan and Trishala will be igniting the flame to discuss the bonds formed in the African wild. Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire on Sunday, the 28th of February. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back everybody to this gorgeous, stunning animals. As you can see, the alpha pair has just positioned in to this spot where they lying down, relaxing a bit in the shade. And they have been shifting around quite a bit. These bushes which they chose for the day to relax most of the day is it's not really providing a lot of shade. And so they keep on shifting around from one spot to the other. as you can see, up in his feet again. But yeah, they keep on shifting around every now and again. Looks like this is actually the beta female that's just laid down here with the alpha male, and he decides against it again, just dropping down, resting and relaxing a bit again. See how he grooms her a bit there? Now it's possible that the alpha male can come up to a beta female and groom her as well, because wild dogs, their social bond is very, very strong. As we spoke about it with the lions and many other species before in the Kalahari. I mean, the thing is that they are really, really strongly bonded together, as it's very important for them to survive in this ecosystem. So yeah, every now and again they will get up and just try to test the air, and these testing motions or testing frequencies happens every half an hour to hour or so, especially when they're very hungry. And this tester, shall I say, happens where they have a meet and greet display, and this meet and greet display goes through a spot where they have a dancing, singing, kissing motion where they're jumping and playing, and everybody's just getting sort of like hyped up and ready. And just because there's energy levels burning at that given point where they're running around, and I want to say sort of like in a play behavior, that is testing the air temperature and everything, and then go through several different rituals throughout the afternoon, just try to figure out if it's the right time to go, because if they start moving at the wrong time, they do start burning unnecessary energy at the wrongest times actually. Myself and Morgan were just talking now about the conditions in the area around and whatsoever. Like it's been changing quite a bit over the last couple of days, and with temperatures fluctuating as well as wind strength fluctuating as well over a given time, it gets to the point that animals need to adjust due to the climatic changes and conditions that happens constantly over all the time in order to survive. So there's a lot of things that animals in the Kalahari need to think about. We're going to send you back over to Chad to say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful sunny afternoon here at and beyond Punda, where we've come across a couple of elephant bulls just off in the valley from where we are. There's about 6 or 7 of them just scattered out and about. They seem like they are just feeding slowly on the lush grass in this area, not moving too far. There's quite a lot of water around this area, so I don't think they are going to be going too far from where we are now. But we are in this area looking to see if we can find any rhinos. We have been driving around for a while. We haven't seen too many rhinos, so I think we might start heading out of this area and seeing if we can find anything else. My name's Chad. On camera we've got Simon. And yeah, so from here I think we're going to drive a little bit more in this western parts of the reserve. If we don't have any luck, I know there were 2 male lions found this morning, a little bit of a distance away from where we are now. And I think that might be our best option for now, if we don't come right with any rhinos or buffaloes. But I mean, in this area there is very dense vegetation, so they could still be resting after a very hot day we've had. Also in the drainage lines, there's a lot of mud wallows, and those buffalo and rhinos would often be wallowing, trying to protect their skin from the sun. And I mean, as it does get cooler, maybe they do start to come out, but I think it is in our best interest to head towards where those lions were last left, and see what they are up to. Maybe as it does get a little bit later on this evening, we can then maybe get them out of the thicket that they were left in this morning. And we're also not too sure where the rest of the pride of lions was left, so it'll be interesting to see if there are any lions around. So the heaviest animal in the world, I think it is the blue whale, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the heaviest land mammal is the elephant. So yeah, we're looking at the heaviest land mammal at the moment. But the heaviest animal in the world is a blue whale. I'm not too sure exactly what the weight of a blue whale is, but I can do some research and hopefully I'll get back to you with the answer on the weights. But I mean, elephants, they can often get up to 6 or 7 tons. So I mean, it is an extremely big animal, weighing a hell of a lot. But yeah, especially elephant bulls. And these elephant bulls that we're looking at the moment, they're actually quite young elephant bulls. So they would have most likely left the herd probably at around the age of 18 to 20. And they now form almost a bachelor herd. So it's almost like a safety in numbers thing, but also they'll just spend time in a group feeding. And once they do come to an age where they're almost in their prime, I would say probably around 32 to 35 years old, that's when they'll then start to maybe go in search of females that are in estrus or ready to mate. And they'll most likely try and fight a dominant bull and see if they can win that fight to get the mating rights of a female or even of a herd of elephants. Because sometimes you do see bulls that are trailing the herd. Often those are the older bulls, the ones that are coming into the age where they're almost ready to fight the dominant bull that often will mate with that herd. But for these guys, they're just living their best life by themselves. So I think for now from here, we're going to continue, drive a little bit more around this open area. If there's no luck, then we're going to start heading towards where those male lions were last left this morning and see what they're up to. But for now, we're going to send you over to Tswalu. She's got something exciting for you.
Hooray! We've managed to find the lions. A little further away than we expected them to be. We thought they were quite close to quarantine. They're not that far away from quarantine now, but further away than we expected. I thought they were just kind of around the corner. But we finally have the telemates again. You can see the grass around you is so thick. It almost looks like they're on a bed. Well, they're definitely relaxing, like they're on a comfy bed of grass. Beautiful and soft. I think. I myself haven't lied down in this grass. But it certainly looks very, very comfy. Well, this is really exciting. They could still move up towards quarantine. We could be in for a hunt this evening. Especially once they get moving, and you know the signs that we'll be looking for will be a lot of stretching, a lot of yawning, urinating, defecating, some bonding, grooming, all of those signs. And then they'll move just a few meters, and then they'll sit down again. It's a very long process, but once they are in gear, they are off. And I think it would be in their best interest to go up to quarantine because there were heaps of antelope around, lots of nyala, lots of impala, plus zebra. And we have some raindrops. Ricky, you said it's the first time seeing them not lying on the road. Well, Ricky, they are lying on the road, at least some of them are. Two of them, look at that cloud. Two of them are in the road, but the others are on the ground next to the road. Excuse me. It just may look this way, Ricky, because this road has not been driven in a long time because of the condition of it. But it's recently been opened, so we haven't seen a lot of this road, and we haven't driven on it, so there's lots of overgrowth. But if we look carefully, you can see that they are lying in the road, or on the road. They're right at the bend as well, so it can be difficult to see them until you suddenly just arrive at them. Luckily, the side we came from, we could see them before, you run them over. But if you come from the other side, it's very difficult to see them. But I can gladly say that none of the lions here have been run over. I think ever in the Sabi Sands, although I could be mistaken. Oh, look at that wind. Doesn't it look lovely? With all these lion bodies just kind of scattered along this grass. They look so comfortable in the grass. They're not budging for anybody, and the wind is still like, oh, I'm still going to push those blades of grass in between your paws, in between all of you lying there. I love the depression they create. It's also quite interesting to see, if we drive past tomorrow or something, that there'll still be these depressions in the grass, which is really nice to look at, just these flattened areas. Cara, you'd like to know which is my favorite lion pride. Cara, how could you even ask? How can I even choose? I'm very bad at this, you know that. I can't choose favorites at all. But I have started my guiding career with the Nkuhumas, and I spent a lot of time with them. So for me, the Nkuhumas have really gotten my heart. I remember the one moment that was just like nothing else was that time when we found Amber Eyes and her cubs. In fact, it was with you, Darby.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. We just went into the drainage. It was so exciting. We just went into the drainage, and we actually saw them from across. So when we went down, it was only one or two that we saw in one of the avokas, and we went down to drainage. We were just watching, all good. And then we see, oh, there's other lionesses around. Okay, cool. And then these little things just started coming out. It was insane. It was insane. So they definitely have a special place in my heart. And at that time, there were lots of cubs within the Nkuhumas, and it was the time when they had coordinated their birth. So Ridge Nose had her cubs already. I think Purple Eye had, no, she hadn't. So we were expecting lots of cubs around, and at first I saw these little things moving, and wow, it was such a special moment. I believe I had a tear in my eye and quoted Coldplay live. Yes, it was one of those moments. But the Telematis are not bad. In fact, they actually broke away from the Nkuhuma Pride in about 2008. Or rather, the Nkuhuma Pride broke away from them. I think it's more correct. But the first lion that ever truly captured my heart out here belonged to this pride. It was a Telemati male, young male, and he had just started to get his mane, and he was beautiful, so beautiful. And he actually joined the Nkuhumas for a short time. And then he dispersed. I'm not quite sure what happened to him afterwards. It's the first really nice picture of a lion I've ever taken. It was a really sweet moment, much like the moment with Amber Eyes and her little darlings. Anyway, I hope that the rain will hold up But for now, I'm going to send you over to Tswalu and their wild dogs.
Welcome back, folks. So these dogs have literally just been milling around the edges of the bushes here. And still, as I was saying previously, they're trying to get to a better shaded spot. And as the wind keeps on turning as well, they're shifting around the bushes. Yeah, so that one, and every now and again you would find like what this one is doing, they get up every now and again to go to the toilet, if I can put it that way, and then they would literally go back to their lying position again. All of these are actually really good, well, testing situations to get going for the afternoon. We're just going to change our position again, just trying to get around them. They are actually making us shift around quite a lot to get to a good visual. So the beta female is actually lying down at the back there, I see. But yeah, there's a good shot of the alpha male. We're going to keep on passing by just to, looks like there's a fairly clear shot that's going to come out on the alpha female on the side. And the alpha male keeps on moving, but yeah, we're going to keep it here for now as the alpha male is pushing through to this shade spot fairly close to us on our left. Katie, you're asking how long would the alpha pair or alpha dogs being considered as the alpha positions? And you know what, that positions remains forever, I want to say, basically with a pack of dogs, because the bond and the hierarchy, the bond is so strong in that hierarchy that once that decision is made where the alpha positions are made to be the set leaders of that pack, the rest of the pack will basically have such huge respect for their leaders and literally not bridge that formation. The thing is, if you look at the hierarchy system of a wild dog pack, it comes down to the formation that you'll have alpha male, alpha female, beta female, and then your supportive unit structure. So this pack is not really a very big pack. It's a pack of 4 dogs that we currently have out in the west here. And the thing is that they are really just that alpha pair and a beta pair. So it's first in line leaders, second in line leaders. So once they have pups coming up, then all of those pups will be in that formation of the supportive unit that will come into the line of picture. Look at that gorgeous colors as he walks off into the sun. Yes, the light is a bit sharp still there, as it's still fairly early in the afternoon. But beautiful coloration on that animal. But yeah, bottom line is, once that decision is made, where that specific dog is the alpha pair, then, well, that alpha pair being chosen to be the leaders, that will remain like that. Say, for instance, the alpha pair gets to a position in time that, let's say, the alpha male passes away, or for instance, dies in an incident, unfortunately, or whatsoever, then the beta position male will immediately shift up into that position. And these dogs will not be related at all. I'm just going to once again reposition into a different position just to get to a better shot there again, but then we'll continue talking about it. Let's just shift again. Yes, these dogs are quite, it's almost like not really at ease at the moment. And it's just because there's not much shade for them as the conditions are laying it out at the moment. But you know what, for us, I was saying to Morgan just now, for us just to be able to view these animals, being able to sit with such a critically endangered species, I think that should be a bit of a better shot coming out there. Just to be sitting with these endangered species like this, it's just so special. Watching the different behaviors as they go through the afternoon and seeing how they communicate with each other, how they scroll through the different shade spots. And it's almost like that formation where the alpha pair sticking together, if she gets up and not really happy with the position, he gets up and moves with her as well. And so what's quite interesting about it, as we're coming back to that hierarchy system, is that it comes down to that formation that the whatever goes with the alpha pair and whatever the decisions they make in that formation saying, okay, well, this is the direction we're going to go for food resources this afternoon. That's where we're going to go for success. Then the pack will follow their leadership. And it comes down to that situation that the moment you get to a point where, let's say, a random member within the pack would want to try to take over that alpha position, then it would go as far as possibly some of the members in the pack might even hurt that animal, just because they get to an attitude of, if you want to lead, you basically lead us to success. And if you can't do that, you're not leading. So if they've got a leadership that is extremely strong and knows exactly what to do to take a pack to success, all of the members in the pack would realize that, and they know we are having such huge respect for these animals, well, for these leaderships, passed on to the beta positions from the alpha positions, and furthermore taken decisions from there to get to success within the pack formation. So never ever they will really bridge that formation of the hierarchy leadership. If it gets to a point that some of the younger members that gets to about 2-3 years of age and they start hunting really good in the front of the hunt itself, hunting as the front runners of the pack, then it could come down to a situation that some of those dogs, if they're not really keen to follow that leadership of the alpha pair, then they would literally leave the pack rather than trying to challenge the alpha pair itself. So they'd rather leave, and there'll be like a break-off small pack from that original pack. So once it happens like that as well, then you get, like, say for instance, the question comes, so how do wild dogs avoid inbreeding? Sorry for that I stopped talking there. There's a question coming about how many wild dog packs are there in Kruger. That is a really good question. So the meta population of wild dogs in South Africa, that's actually in Kruger Park, and the rest are in the Kalahari, the Northwest Province, as well as some few odd ones, few populations in KZN, and yeah, so that's why in Kruger the meta population is actually out there. So I'd say roughly between 20 packs or so. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to check it up for you actually. And but yeah, generally it's a pretty good number of packs that's out and about over there. And there's some big packs. Like there's a pack of dogs in the Kalahari that in the Kalahari area of Kruger. It's known as the Orphan pack. And those dogs are easily well over 30 to 35, approaching 40 dogs. I don't know what's the latest numbers on them, but that's just one pack. And if you think about it, the successive rate of a pack like that, they're really doing really, really well. So, yeah, I mean, there's some of the packs that's really rather large and big in numbers, actually. But, yeah, in the Kalahari, their numbers progress quite quickly as well. And so once they've populated, because of the vastness and the open spaces in this area, then the numbers do pick up quite dramatically. But then we're battling with some diseases in the Kalahari as well sometimes, like canine distemper and rabies, that do make the numbers fluctuate quite a bit. Tim, you're asking if we would ever find wild dogs from the Kruger in the Kalahari. And yes, it could happen at a certain given point. Let's say there's dogs that their numbers have dropped so much in the Kalahari that we want to actually get new packs in. They first just going to have to undergo through a sandparks observation, shall I say, structure, where they're going to have to look through the dogs and see if they're disease-free from any other diseases, because in Kruger section, wild dogs can pick up on other diseases as well. So the Kalahari is almost a complete disease-free area, apart from the canine distemper and rabies that we have in some of the canine family species, yeah? But yeah, we first going to have to go through that monitoring system and making sure that they are clean, and then we could possibly get dogs in. from the Kruger Park. But yeah, the Kalahari, it's best actually to have dogs from the Kalahari. There's a few properties in the Kalahari that's got wild dog populations here and there, which is really good for helping out this fantastic predator that we're hoping is not going to die out in the nearby future. But yeah, hard work always pays off. So you got to continue going at the conservation efforts that we're trying to put in to monitor them closely and try keep the numbers going as much as possible. Obviously, we won't get involved in it like as an interference with nature, if I could put it that way. But yeah, try to put in efforts as much as possible from a monitoring point of view, see if they're doing well. But as I can see, these dogs are doing fairly well. They're doing really, really good. As we can see, the bellies are halfway full. They have eaten something possibly yesterday morning. Jen, you're asking what is my favorite thing about wild dogs, and I know it could be sometimes quite deceiving if you look at them sleeping like this. You would think, yo, okay, so it's just sleepy dogs, and they almost look like a domestic dog even, and that's exactly where you go wrong. This is most probably one of the most active animals in the world. Because they associated with wolves, they are actually the African version of a wolf. And coming back to that hierarchy system that we were talking about earlier, with from the leaders to the second line leaders to the supportive unit and this whole family unity just standing so strong together. If you look at how they stand together in that family unity and how they take care of each other so well and doing so much for each other. I mean, I've seen many, many different incidents that I can quickly think about on my hand. On one hand, many different incidents which I've seen where they take care of each other in injured situations, where they take care of a pups at a den site so well and nobody gets left behind. So they represent one word, really great love. And that is what it's all about. And on top of that, it's a really beautiful animal. So broadly, it's just so special understanding the species and being able to monitor them closely, being able to see what they're telling us about this ecosystem as they are a very, very good indicator. So yeah, truly a very special species. We're going to remain with these dogs for the afternoon, as I said earlier on. And we're definitely going to try and see if we can possibly get a potential hunt this afternoon on them and try to follow them in that hunt. But yeah, for now, we're going to keep on waiting with these special animals.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Believe it or not, our lions have not done much. But if I were the apex predator, I wouldn't be doing much either. I wouldn't let anything bother me around here. Every now and then, the lovely sun pokes out, warms their bodies. I'm sure they feel very comfortable. But then you get this huge cumulus cloud. It is huge. It looks like a floating city. You can actually see how quick it's moving. It looks like it's going to land just above camp. But at least now it's moved aside so a bit of the sun can come creeping back in and warm these bellies. There's an occasional movement here and there. A little foot twitch or so. But all sleeping movements. I'm not saying flies don't seem to be bothering them too much, which is great for them or any other pests. Usually you'll see their ears going and their tails swishing. But today, everyone's looking pretty comfortable. I'm sure it's very rare for them to feel this way. Normally, there's always something bothering them. So there's, of the, well now, sub-adults, there were 9 cubs in this pride. And now they're sub-adults, but there were 6 females and 3 males, if I remember correctly, which is wonderful because you know that the females will stay within their pride and the males will disperse. So that means an additional 6 females that are going to add to the Telemati numbers. That's really nice to see the pride grow like that. But then, so there's 5 adult females. It'll be 11 of them. Oh, look at that. So to have 11 good females in this pride will be awesome, which means more cubs to come. And really boost our lion population. Oh, here comes the sun. As the floating castle moves by, the sun has peeked out. Oh, look at that. That is so pretty. You can actually see it moving slowly. So, so lovely. Melissa, you'd like to know if it's true that lions will hunt anything? That's pretty much true for any carnivore. If it has the opportunity to take something, it will. Even, if a wildcat comes across something that it wouldn't normally take, that maybe it finds a dead genet or something like that, it may still take it, or an injured genet. So it's all about opportunity. Because when a carnivore is hungry, it's going to do something about it. In fact, if any animal is hungry, it's going to do something about it. It's going to get desperate. If a herbivore is desperate, it's going to start eating leaves that it normally wouldn't. It's going to start eating a whole lot of tanniny leaves, and that's going to make it sick, but at least it will be satiated, or at least get there a little bit. So the same thing goes with lions. If they're hungry and desperate enough, they will hunt anything. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, will they hunt humans? If they're desperate enough and you happen to be in, I don't know what state of mind, to be wandering about in an area where there's no other prey items, so, maybe, never mind, I probably shouldn't say that. So you're wandering about in this area for, I don't know what reason, and you come across lions that are desperate, they probably will hunt you. There was a situation where some lions had actually changed their behavior in order to follow humans. And that was in the Greater Kruger area where Mozambique, so there's an area where South Africa and Mozambique share a border. And so illegal immigrants used to come through Mozambique into South Africa using power lines as a guide. So lions had realized that this was happening, so they'd start to kind of encroach on those power line areas so they could take advantage of humans that were using that illegally to come through the border. They were dubbed the man-eating lions. But, what can you expect? You're in lion territory, and if you're in lion territory, I don't know why we would expect, especially frequently, so you're not now this special or unique thing for walking through and they don't want to approach you. But if it's consistent, you're consistently seeing these things come through as a lion, why wouldn't you give it a go? And that's a risk we take if you're walking around in areas that lions are prevalent in. I've seen lions go up when we talked about the big things there, like humans or other big animals. But they would also take small things like francolins. I've seen them go crazy over them. In fact, this morning, they were jumping about at some francolins too because they looked so hungry they were trying anything. Nicanova, you'd like to know if there's a large animal that would either hunt the lions or attack the lions, something like that. Sorry, Nicanova. But hunt, obviously not. Because a hunt implies that there is some sort of planning and intention. And if a hyena came across an injured lion, or a lion at a carcass on its own, or with a meal on its own, and you have one lioness and about 7 hyenas or 5 hyenas, then they could displace that lioness and perhaps attack her and maybe kill her and eat her. But that for me doesn't constitute a hunt. That is a sort of a battle or an attack where a dead animal is the result and then a hyena would then go about and eat it. But that for me doesn't constitute a hunt. But then I didn't quite hear your question, so maybe you meant just attack. And in terms of attack, several hyenas can displace one lioness, but if there is a male around, that's very unlikely unless he's injured and has some serious problem. Yes, you meant just attack. But one animal that will make an effort to, quote-unquote, attack, or rather chase, would be elephants. So if elephants come through here now, and they see these guys and they feel a bit irritated. It can go, well, they're going to get irritated by seeing predators. So it can go one of two ways. Either they'll trumpet, posture a little bit and go away with their tails stiff and their ears out, or they could run into the lions. They could really upset everything that's going on here. And for me, that's intent to do something to the lions. So I would say that that would be an attack. A lion could definitely get killed that way, but I haven't heard of that happening too often. It's a strange thing. Out here, it seems that most animals have a good amount of respect for each other. I know we think of respect in a human way, sort of like you look up to this person, or you admire this person or this animal or whatever, and we think of respect in that way. But respect is also in the natural world or in the animal world, is knowing the capability of the different species around you, the different animals you've come across. There we go. So knowing what to expect from them and knowing that you don't want to be hurt, it's just about that knowledge. And that knowledge is what I describe as respect in the animal kingdom. Oh, some stretching going on. Wonderful. Well, speaking of those animals that the lions get respect from and give respect to, it seems like Steve has one of them.
Yes, indeed we do. Let us just move forward. The big fellow's just moved behind the bush. Another animal lions have respect for is honey badgers. I was with the pride of sleeping lions once, and the honey badger came running straight through, not too bothered with what was going on, and suddenly he found himself in amongst 20 odd lions. The lions all jumped up, ready to pounce, and the honey badger just growled at all of them, and they all went, no, 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 and they basically just said, through this way, thank you, kind sir, and let him go. Okay, so we've got an elephant here, everybody. Very strange situation with this elephant, because he's got no tail, but naturally looks like he was born like that, which is very strange. I'm just going to try a bit closer here so you can see him. Tell me when you've got him there, Johan. Okay, he's going to hide his bum behind the bush. He's a bit self-conscious about it. It's just a gaping hole. That is his bottom, which we will try and get it in the view of as he eats a sickle bush. But when we looked closely the other day, it almost looks as if the tail is deformed and inside the skin, because there's no scar, as if it was eaten off or chopped off or anything at any stage. Just a sort of bit of muscle movement under the skin where the tail should be. So quite strange, but he's in very good condition, so I wouldn't think it's affecting him too much, although he's not able to keep the flies off of his bottom, which can't be much fun. Now those branches, everybody, that he's gonna walk. No, he's not gonna walk. He's hiding just behind the bush. Now, I don't want to move any closer because he's going to move away if I do. We're just going to wait. And that bush he's eating, sickle bush, the spines will go straight through a tractor tire. An elephant just puts them in his mouth like candy. Sickle bush is a very nutrient-rich plant. It's a nitrogen fixer, which means it has a symbiotic relationship with a mycorrhizal bacteria in the roots, which helps to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. So they're essentially able to make their own food, their own soil nutrients. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to move forward an inch or two. Oh, look at that. It looks quite uncomfortable. Mid-clock, you want to know how do elephants treat themselves? That's very strange, isn't it? That wound. You can show them a little bit. It's a bit graphic, everybody, so if you don't like it, don't look right now. Well, mid-clock, many of the plants out here have got medicinal properties to them, enormous amounts. I'll try and bring all of that to the fore when it comes to human sort of medicinal value, and no doubt animals are able to take medicinal value as well from many of these plants. Very helpful to know. So I've used the explanation before in the past that if you have free roaming chickens in your garden and you plant medicine, a form of wormwood or any of the other medicines that we can plant in our garden, then they will definitely go and self-medicate themselves. And elephants will do the same. So leaves of the sickle bush can be chewed for diarrhea, toothache, a cough, sore throat for people. So no doubt there's some transference there. The plant itself is very useful for all sorts of things. Wounds, skin disease. Pods are very nutritious, of course. Many animals will eat sickle bush and acacia pods. So if chickens are able to self-medicate, I have no doubt that elephants are. Don't forget, elephants are like people in a way, that they don't eat anything they don't know. They're introduced to the plants that they feed on by their parents in a very long, slow process of education. And so over time and through the seasons, no doubt with their communication, when the calf is maybe feeling something, the mum can say, come on, over here, you see this plant? Do you smell this plant? You can eat this to treat exactly what it is you're feeling. Obviously, I've no doubt they've got different names for those ailments. No, Glenn, I doubt it'll affect the balance. The tail's way too small. I mean, cats mainly balance, or monkeys. Elephants are pretty grounded. And the tail is mainly there as probably a form of communication, as well as a way to keep the insects from activating or accessing of the softest part of the animal's body. But it doesn't seem to have affected him too much. His body's in good condition, his hips. He's just got a really weird hole. I suppose that's what elephants would all look like if they didn't have a tail. He's very chilled, very relaxed. We're down here in the southwest of Pridens, about to turn the corner to a little dam called Buffalo Dam. Haven't really spent much time down here in preparation for exiting out onto Zebra Clearing for a wonderful sunset. And it is looking like the clouds are going to be very fitting this afternoon for exactly that. Okay, well, from one relaxed large animal to a much smaller animal, but seemingly also very relaxed.
Welcome back, everybody. And looking at this wild dog just flat out to sleep, but we've got a bit more tail wagging happening here at the moment. There's one that's just gone up onto its feet. It looks like the beta female has just popped up here again as well. Bit of a sneeze, just clearing the airways a bit there. But yeah, looking at these dogs, we have had a bit of rather, shall I say, quite a bit of sleepy activity happening. But slowly but surely, they should be starting to get a bit more activity levels up and going. She's just gone to visit the lavatory again, which are very cool. Seeing these dogs still upping and downing, trying to figure out whether it is a good time for them to start moving or whatsoever. Beautiful white tip tail that dog has just gone up to, displaying there a bit. Very beautiful. And even that dog, as Morgan's framing it up there, looking at the whitetail to the left-hand side, sticking out to the dog's head there, or to its right, our left. But yeah, very beautiful seeing that white flags that they carry on the bodies as well. As we were talking about hunting formations earlier and everything, it's quite interesting as we were just seeing that whitetail constantly when they move through thick bush and hunting at long distances. That white tails are actually a very nice indication for them to keep tabs on each other when they're hunting through denser environments, because every now and again they see that white flashes of the tails coming through the bush, and then they can keep on location on each other so they don't lose each other when they're hunting through a given area. And especially when they caught something on a potential hunt or so, then the tails are up in the air and the flags are indicating to the rest of the dogs still coming on to the kill and on their way to the site. Tails in the air and just showing, yeah, here we are, and there's a lot of chattering about at that given point in time when they're cornering an animals. So that is how the rest of the pack, and let's say the dragging of the back line starting to come in to support the actual motion coming up to that tails. FC, can you just okay, yeah, so the question was there, can two unrelated packs socialize? It's actually quite interesting. When that situation happens, there's a full-on war breaking out. They never really socialize. As I was trying to say earlier, actually, with like the two segments ago, looking at the actual meeting structures that they have when they do bump into another pack of dogs, they literally rip each other apart, and that goes into a full-on war zone as it is. When you get the break-offs, as I was saying earlier, from like a pack dispersal, like let's say 4 or 5 young dogs broken off from a pack of about 20 dogs, then you get many different, shall I say, many different break-offs from different packs, and some of those break-off little units can join up together and form a new pack of dogs. But once that new pack of dogs are formed and they do meet up with the old pack with some of their members that they used to be part of, still they go into a full-on war zone. So they don't socialize with other non-related packs whatsoever. It's constantly in a situation where they go into full-on war zones. Wild dogs are home rangeal animals, so they keep on shifting their boundaries, because otherwise, if they were territorial animals, they would literally deplete a certain given area from, shall I say, food resources or food supply, as antelope numbers would come down quite dramatically, just because wild dogs, I mean, they are the number 1 successful killer in Africa. And they hunt extremely well. On average, dogs all over Africa run at about 80 to 85% in killing rate. But coming back to the open pack that we were talking about previously in the Kalahari region of Kruger Park, some of those dogs I know, yes, those guys run close to 100% successive rate. So it can vary anything between 85 to 100% successive rate. So given that those dogs are extremely, extremely successful in what they do. And due to that, if you think about that, they need to move and shift their boundaries of their home ranges. Otherwise, they will put too much pressure on a given area. And so dogs can move within 4 days to 5 days given time or so, especially if it's a big pack of dogs. Yes, they can shift from, like, the one morning they are in a certain area, and the next morning they could be 40 to 50 kilometers away from that previous morning's destination. It's crazy how far they are able to go from one time to another over 24 hours time space. This pack, being small, have been hanging out quite far out into the west, just because their numbers have been so small, and lately they've been mating as well. So hopefully we're thinking about, well, hopefully we're going to see some numbers inclining. There's no signs really that we could see that the alpha female's pregnant yet. But yeah, it'd be great if we can get those numbers up and going. And by nature's terms and ways, they would have want to pick up their numbers dramatically and try to get them up and going so they can become a much stronger pack and a bigger pack. So they've been sticking out in the west here because there are hyena clans close to the mountains recently that's been moving through there. And so the dogs are sort of outnumbered for the amount of hyenas close to the mountain section. So it doesn't say that they're not going to go back into the dunes, but those hyenas roam into the dunes as well. So they have been hanging out in the western sections here quite a bit lately, just for safety purposes. But once these dogs have got their numbers up and going, which I want to say, like, I want to have a feeling of about 90% to 100% that she is pregnant, that we would get a strong litter hopefully pretty soon. It would be her first litter though, as this is also fairly a young pack of dogs. The alpha female, she's roughly at about, she should be approaching about 5 years of age now. So there's a comment that just came through saying that we hope this pack is surviving and actually building up great numbers for years to come. And I really couldn't agree more. That would be so amazing if we can get these numbers up and going quite amazingly. And so yeah, I mean, the thing is also that wild dogs, being such active species and such active animals, it'd be so special to get their numbers up and going. And like I said, through nature's ways, as it will go through, they will feel that they need, or they will feel the need for picking up their numbers dramatically. So that is why we've had mating been happening about 2 weeks ago or so. So I'd say give it another 2 weeks, then we should be starting to see some mammary gland swelling on this belly if the mating event was successful. So during a time like now, this time of the year, heading into March, if, let's say, that pregnancy didn't take, then it could get to a point that she could fall into another estrus period between, well, the month of March up to April. And if that one takes, then we'll see some pups in July, something like that. But I'm being very hopeful here. Let's just shift with them a bit as they started getting up a bit there. Looks like they're going to keep on moving a bit further to that side. I don't know if it'll be the actual movement for the afternoon yet. I can feel the temperature has come down quite nicely now. And yeah, they should be slowly but surely starting to get mobile and active now. Oh, we're going to get some nice light on these dogs here as they are really nicely presented, this beta male moving through here as well. You can see he's walking around still in this position. A stunning light seeing them in this environment where it's fairly clear and open. Seeing the different colorations on him. But it's also very nice to see them being in an open, clear area like this. Like typically wild dogs having that splash coloration with the different markings, the different paintings that they have. I mean, if you go to the Latin name, it says Lycaon pictus. And that basically comes down to painted wolf. And it comes down to that paintings that it basically explains about. And those paintings are like a frog leaping into water. There's a bit more movement happening on the alpha male. But yeah, that frog leaping into a clear set of water and the coloration that's on the back of the frog itself, it will blend in with its immediate environment straight away, right there, as into the natural area where it's moved into. And this is exactly what happens with the dogs. And that is why they do so well in the Kalahari, in that sense and situation where it comes to the paintings blending in with the immediate environment that they freeze into. So yeah, it'd be very cool to see these dogs moving through the splash coloration, moving in these hunting savanna environments. And we're really hoping to see something like that a bit later. But yeah, for now, we're going to send you back over to Chad, where he's found something fairly special.
Welcome back to Punda, everybody, where we struck gold. We came into this area to look for these two males, and here they are, presenting themselves right in the open, which is quite amazing. You can have a look at that one. He's just starting to groom himself. And another little pot of gold. As we were on our way here, we actually saw a male leopard that was just crossing the airstrip. But we tried to follow him, but he went into quite a dense area, so we were unable to follow. But just up the road, we found the two male lions, and this is why we came here. So we're very happy. After a long afternoon out, we finally have succeeded. They're just beautifully presenting themselves out in the open. Look at that yawn. Yo, how incredible is that? He might even start to groom himself. Mark, so here on Punda, we have three different prides. One in the west, one in the south, and then one in the north. And at the moment, I think we're sitting at about 35 lions, if I'm not mistaken. So it's around 35, and male lions, we have 3 different male lions. These two that dominate a section here in the southern parts where we are now, and then they also dominate a certain section in the west, another male lion that dominates far west, and then 2 male lions far up in the north. So yeah, I mean, we've got quite a healthy population of lions here on Punda, and so yeah, we do see them quite often, and these are just beautiful male lions. Having a look at their beautiful manes, it's almost golden, their manes, and you can see they also are starting to get quite black in color. You can see that male lion licking his lips. There were also some impalas that weren't too far from us on the airstrip, and maybe this male lion is having a look-see at those impalas. Maybe that's why he's licking his lips like that. But if you have a look at him grooming, he did yawn a little bit earlier. And those are often 2 signs that we look out for when male lions start to get active. Patsy, there is nothing better than a beautiful dark-maned male lion. I mean, these two are incredibly dark. Even if you have a look at their bodies, you can see they're also very, very dark in color. And that also means that it's good genetics. There's a good amount of testosterone that these male lions have. And hopefully with them mating with lionesses around, the next generation of male lions in this area will hopefully have dark manes just like these two in front of us. And I think after a long search and a long afternoon, it's just amazing to have them out here, right in the open for us. And I do know a little bit earlier, one of my fellow rangers, he did have a look at the last spot where they were left this morning. Oh, have a look here, he's getting up. Big stretch. He might even head towards his brother. Maybe see if they start their evening patrol. He might even scent mark a little bit. There he is, he's spraying his urine. Maybe he's just moving onto the tarmac. Maybe oh, no, just repositioning. It's often what happens out here. They give you all the signs that they're going to start to get active, and they'll get up, stretch, and then they'll walk 3 or 4, but at least his head. I think for now, though, we are going to sit a little bit longer with these male lions. Maybe see if we can try get a different position. But we're going to send you over to Steve. He has something very interesting for you.
Well done, Chad. Enjoy your lions. Everybody, it is that time. Take a seat, sit back, relax, and I'm just going to hold off speaking, allow you to enjoy a beautiful, beautiful sunset. Tony says gorgeous. And Edward is loving the texture of the clouds. I haven't seen the sun in a few days. Went from blazing hot temperatures to rain and now clear again for the most part. More weather on the way. Always changing is the circle of life. Nothing is permanent. Well, blessings to all of you out there on this wonderful Sunday, on this last day of February.
February is the month of love, and nature is no exception. Tristan and Trishala will be igniting the flame to discuss the bonds formed in the African wild. Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire on Sunday, the 28th of February. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Steve, one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
There's finally quite a bit of movement happening, a lot of grooming. There's even some low rumbles. Look at that. It's so beautiful to watch a lion pride bond, and the way they rub each other's heads. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And also it feels so genuine and real. Even though we know that biologically they're doing it to reaffirm the bonds between themselves, it just looks really appealing. Like, you would just want a lion to come give you a nice headbutt and a hug. It looks that soft and appealing. But obviously you would know better than that. So see what they've started to do. Tails are moving a little bit more wildly now. They're moving a little bit, but not a lot. So they'll just get up, move a few meters, and flop back down. But this is the beginning of them making a move for the night. Look at that yawn. Gorgeous. Mark, you would like to know if there are any famous lions from this area? Well, the Matimbas were definitely famous lions. I think they're all pretty famous. Oh, look at that face. That face says, "You're rubbing me the wrong way." But if you're thinking of a lion like Cecil, they're not really directly from this area. Oh, look at that, more stretches. There are also the Mapoko males that were famous. Oh, and the Majingilan, famous males. But famous lionesses and famous prides? Not really. In fact, all those males have reputations for taking up lots of territory and moving into new territories and being quite violent. Well, actually, violence is the wrong word, because they're doing what's natural, and that's to take over territory, and there also being some violence that ensues. But to us it may seem brutal, but they are doing what is necessary for them. Oh, we've got some movement. Someone's moved. Oh, and not anymore. That was so cool. One of the females, she looked like she was gonna go on a walkabout, and then all of a sudden collapsed into the grass. I just need to take this quickly. Person on the radio just called me Trish TV lady.
Sorry, which location was that?
I'll guide them in a moment. I'm glad to see that their general movement seems to be northwards, which is towards quarantine. Oh, there we go. So I have 4 of them that are up and moving. And flop down again. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, 2 are still on the move. All right, well, this is a great time to be with them, but we're going to send you over to Chad while I guide these other vehicles into the sighting.
Welcome back, everybody. So this herd of impalas moves quite close to these males. I'm just going to keep quiet for a little bit. Have a listen out to the impalas making their alarm call. There's another big yawn from that male. Now it seems like all of them are running off, except those 4 that are just keeping an eye on these males. And you can see that the males aren't interested at all. I mean, you can see they are looking at them, but I think these males know that this isn't a very good opportunity for them to hunt. But how incredible are those noises to hear those impalas. So I also just heard a male leopard rasping just behind us, that one that we might have seen. As it's all happening out here at Pinda now. And Penelope, I agree with you. These males are very, very impressive, beautiful animals. And it's literally all happening here on Phinda, from a quiet afternoon to male lions on the airstrip, impalas alarming. We saw the leopard, and leopards now rasping. So that's a territorial scent mark that they often do. So it's an amazing evening. The colors and the clouds are even starting to change. It's a beautiful evening out here. And what better way to spend your Sunday afternoon with all these animals and all this action. Now, I have seen quite a lot of the male lions. Both of them have been yawning quite a lot. So I think that they're not too far from getting up. I mean, we did see them a little bit earlier stand up, move a little bit, but they've now started to lay down. It also is definitely worthwhile spending a little bit of time here and seeing maybe if that leopard comes back. I mean, it can hear the impalas alarming, but I don't think the impalas are alarming at the leopard. I'm sure that leopard knows that they're not alarming at it, so he might come and investigate and see what's going on. It's an amazing noise to hear a leopard rasp, and I think one of my favorite noises in the bush has to be a male lion vocalizing. I mean, to be within 10-15 meters of a massive male lion vocalizing or roaring, it almost, like the roar, it almost vibrates through you. And if you haven't been on safari before, I suggest you get on the first plane out of your country and straight to the nearest game reserve and see what it's all about out here. There's just so much going on at the moment. We're not even sure what to look at. But I think we are going to stay here a little bit longer. Maybe that leopard comes out. Maybe these male lions get up. But for now, we're going to send you over to Steve with something very interesting. Who's that going so fast?
Yes, well, the sun just keeps changing on these clouds, and although there's lots of amazing wildlife activity, sometimes it's nice to just stop and watch. And these silent moments are also quite profound in that the noises of the night start to come awake. Isn't that beautiful? Water vapor. I spoke about the dam earlier and the currency of life with water. The sun's rays heat the water, it evaporates and creates beauty. Beautiful oranges coming through as the sun dips even lower. And the Canova, I hope so. I hope they enjoy it. It's hard to say, really. You never really see them staring at the sunset, but for many animals, especially your prey animals, they watch the sun going down and a very different thought pattern arises in their head. Now the night is emerging or approaching, and with the night comes the darkness. And as you've seen with the lion activity there and possible leopard activity, they start to get active. And so for us, with the safety of our homes, we watch the sunsets in anticipation of a nice relaxing evening. And if you're hunted at night, you must be thinking to yourself, oh goodness, shall we survive? So maybe they enjoy the sunrises more. Another night survived. Another day of light on its way. You think back to our ancestors, if they actually took time to appreciate the sunsets, or if they felt the same, that now on comes the darkness, the roaming predators. Many of the birds will give off some final calls. We had a barred owlet calling just before. And the high rasping call of the Swainson spurfowl. And just like that, the sun sets to rise somewhere else. And with that, we shall continue. Head on along this road, and maybe we'll be lucky and bump something on the move. Something that has decided to wake up. Matthew, it does. Each sunset does indeed have its own story. Its beginning and its end. And this one, in particular, is the end of the month. Start of a new month in the morning. Start of a new week as well. Well, I'm wondering what the sunshine looks like over in the west. Let's go back over to Tswalu Kalahari.
Welcome back, everybody. We have literally just got a bit more activity levels hyped up and going here, and there's quite a bit of cooler weather that's been rolling in quite a bit now. Actually, Morgan's just going to show us the weather out and about, as there's another dramatic cloud formation coming out from the southern direction this evening. A lot of clouds actually building up over to the southern sections and even from the west. And all of this cloud cover formations that's building up, these breezes are all coming out of these cloud formations. And so that's what's dropping the temperatures quite a bit. And so that's why these dogs are a bit in a formation of two different worlds here, or thinking about, or shall I say, two mindsets happening here at the moment. Because having two weather systems, one in the west and the southwest and so on, and then if you look at the far eastern side there as well, yes, there is so much cloud formations in this environment at the moment. So different breezes from different directions, creating cooler weather, and that's why they shifted into the sun now. We've had a few interesting behaviors happening also in the meanwhile, where the alpha female, you see these rituals that I was talking about earlier that they go through to test the climate and get them ready for a going session on a hunting formation. So that's not the final thing for go time when they get going on a hunt. You get to a point in time where there's a sneeze or a sniffing sound that comes out. And with that sniffing sound, it is the indication from the alpha female generally that starts up with being the main leader. I've seen with most packs that the alpha female is the one that does most of the leading. There we go, she's on her feet again. And so what happens is that she does that sniffing, snouting sound, and that's the last indication. It's almost like clearing the airways and for the time when they're just about to get going. So that's the indication that it'll go like a Mexican wave through the entire pack. And as that happens, the entire pack knows, okay, the leader said we're supposed to go now, and we move out and about. So the thing is, coming back to the different breezes and the temperature fluctuation happening at the moment, you can see that belly is quite bloated. Damien, you're asking if wild dogs, do they have better hearing than domestic dogs? You know what? In certain ways, there would be certain similarities, but if you look at those big buckets for ears, these guys almost got like ultrasonic hearing. And what happens is with those big buckets for ears, that's fantastic hearing that happens out and about over there. So that great hearing with almost, I want to say, like a satellite dish being put around it, that is what makes the wild dogs being hunting in the wild so much more effective in hearing, actually. And she's just gone laying down again. So coming back to what I was saying earlier, with the different fluctuations of the temperatures coming through, and so it will happen to a certain point where they in two worlds now, because yes, it's the adequate temperature for them to get going on a hunt now, but also the other thing is that the moon is going to come up most probably a few seconds, well, not a few seconds, but like half an hour after sunset, I think. And it's very bright and full at the moment. So, yeah, it's almost like they're in two worlds. Should we start hunting now when the breeze is nice and cool, or shall we wait for the moon, where we can still see at nighttime with the moon that is so bright? So, yeah, it's sort of like two decisions that they got to choose one of in this time. But there's been a lot of signs. We've had one ritual already when you've been at the other destinations, and where there've been a meet and greet display. As that alpha female came up to the beta female there just now, in that position where she was just sort of displaying there, like sort of the other one went into submission, dropping down. That's obviously showing us that the beta female has dropped down in respect because she's second in charge of the pack. But the thing is, that was a fairly close to a display almost happening there, where they go through these rituals. So yeah, we're gonna wait another 10 minutes or so as we're starting to lose light behind the clouds here, and just see if we can get these dogs still on a hunt. But I'm starting to think they're in a bit of two worlds here, possibly gonna wait for moonlight. We're going to send you back over to Chad with those fairly active lines starting also up and about.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So from fairly active lines and their heads up, impalas alarming, leopards rasping, it now seems like these two males don't have a care in the world. You can see they're both lying dead flat. They don't have their heads up at all. So all that yawning and grooming that they were doing was all for, right now, nothing, I guess. But I don't think that they will be here for too much longer. I think maybe once that sun does start to set, once it gets a little bit cooler, I think these male lions are going to then start to get up and maybe go on a territorial patrol. We know that they haven't been to the territory quite far west for 3 or 4 days since we saw them on that buffalo carcass. So, I mean, it's almost time for them to start heading back into that area and re-scent mark their territories. So I think for this evening, these two male lions have quite a long evening ahead of them, vocalizing, scent marking, walking the boundary of their territory. But for now, you can see that they are just resting, trying to conserve as much energy as possible just before they do start to get active. And it does seem like everything has calmed down here at Anbionpinda. The sun's set already. There's no more monkeys or impalas alarming. Maybe that leopard has even moved off into even more of a dense area. Maybe potentially looking to hunt or even do the same as these male lions on a territorial patrol. We did hear vocalizer. Justin, male lions will scent mark daily. They won't necessarily go on a territorial patrol, but even when they are moving within a certain area, they will scent mark. Earlier on, when this male lion did and get up, he did spray his urine a little bit, so they'll basically scent mark whenever they move around. I mean, even if these two males had to get up now, they often will defecate, go to the bathroom, spray their urine, and then what they do is they actually use their two back legs and scrape the urine with their two back legs just to get all that urine onto their feet, so that when they walk, they're actually marking their territory as they go around on their daily routine. So you can say yes, they do scent mark every day, these two male lions. And especially if they maybe hear other males vocalizing or something like that. But I think for now, we're going to leave these two males. They seem like they are resting up for now. We're going to send you over to Tristan, who has something very interesting to show you guys.
Indeed, it is very cool because it's our little helmetrikes that have found their little branch again. I was coming to check on them and also to see if there's any sign of Tingana coming out of the block, which we think is Tingana because we had tracks for a male leopard coming in towards this area. It's been an ever so frustrating afternoon. We had Insele on a kill. Unfortunately, though, Rusty just could not find signal, and we went and looked for Tandi and Marips, but Chitwa seemed to have the same issue. So we've literally just been bouncing from pillar to post, trying to find some semblance of signal. And we at least have found these guys with some signal, which therefore makes a much happier Tristan. Today, they're not as uniform as they were the other night. We've not seeing the same kind of display of all of them in a row with one sort of sticking its tail the wrong way. Today there's a little bit more all over the show, but it's exactly the same branch and exactly the same number of helmetrikes, I think. There was one that landed here and then flew off randomly, but they clearly are spending a lot of time here, because what I didn't notice the other day in the dark, obviously because it was dark, is that there's a lot of leaves that have got where they've defecated all over them underneath these birds. And so they're obviously roosting here every single night. Why, I'm not quite sure. I mean, they get constantly harassed by insects in this spot. You can see every now and then the little tails twitch or the head shakes. And that's because of all the insects that kind of buzz around their faces and their eyes and generally cause a little bit of trouble for them. So I would have thought that they would have found a better place to sit. But they seem happy, and so here they are. I know a lot of you are asking whether they're chicks. They're not chicks. These are all adult birds. They're very much as big as they get. They're just huddling together, A, for warmth, and B, because a lot of birds do this at night, especially social birds, so things like Aramark babblers, these guys, certain bee eaters. There's a lot of different birds that will kind of huddle like that, just to stay nice and warm through the course of the night. It must suck if you're the one on the end, though. You wouldn't want to be the one with the cold side. I think it must be much nicer to be one of the ones kind of in the middle. Now, I'm trying to count how many there actually are in total, because there was for a long time this discussion that raged on about how these guys are always in flocks of 7. I personally have seen many different flocks that are not 7, but it's just a weird coincidence how often it is actually 7 birds in a little grouping together. I think I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like maybe 8 in this grouping. Might be wrong, maybe 7. You guys will be able to see better. I unfortunately don't have a monitor on this vehicle after the rain. That was damaged too, and so I have no idea how close you guys are and what you can actually see. Hopefully you'll be able to tell me how many we have. The good news, though, is just getting back to Insele, is that she looks really good, super healthy. Obviously she's eating, so she's got a nice little round tummy. I didn't see any signs of any suckle marks or anything like that, but she was looking really good, and I'm glad to hear that she's well, and that she's managed to find food, and I'm hoping that she's potentially going to den somewhere there, or maybe she already has. I didn't get a good enough look at her teats area. We kind of just had a head-on sort of view of her when we saw her. Now, a lot of you are saying that there are 9 of these guys today. Well, there we go. So that breaks that whole kind of stigma of 7 helmet shrikes together. I've heard it many times from many different guides, but like I say, I've seen multiple different cases where there's more or less than 7 in a little flock bumbling around. But these guys are so cool. I wonder how long they're going to stay here for. Obviously, today's my last day for this particular stint, and I'll probably only be back potentially late April, beginning of May. So I'm not sure they'll still be here by then, but maybe Lauren and Andrew and Steve and the rest that are coming in will be able to kind of keep up with them. Now, some of you say these are adorable. They are cute, aren't they? It's a very cool little sighting. I'm pretty happy that we stumbled upon them the other day, and then again tonight. I've been trying to get you, obviously I haven't been driving all that much with Rusty being down, but I've been trying to get you most nights just to see if I can kind of see them again, and I've always been waylaid. But pretty cool to have come back a few days later and they're all still in their same little perch. Thought it'd be also a great spot to just stop and listen, because like I say, there was tracks for a male leopard heading into this area, and kind of I know that Tingana often likes to pop out on this western side of quarantine. It's difficult nowadays to know exactly where he moves. His movement seems to be very random, and not nearly as choreographed as it used to be. He used to have very specific ways that Tingana used to walk, and he doesn't vocalize much anymore. So normally if you have a territorial male leopard and he's in an area like this at this time of the day, you're waiting for that rasping call if you haven't managed to find him. But we know with him, sometimes he doesn't even call at all through the night, and he seems to be just using different routes all the time, and so building up an idea of who or where he is going, or how he's doing it is proving to be quite tricky in these summer months. It's amazing though, if you think about our sightings of leopards over the past 2 months, it's incredible to see how heavily biased it is in the female direction. And there's a very simple reason for that, is that female leopards are far more prone to be arboreal. And so with the grass being the length that it is, and the thickness of the bush, we're finding a lot more leopards are trying to climb trees in order to get out of that grass, but the males still won't do it. They're still big and strong, and unless they have a kill, they're not really as interested in sleeping up a tree, whereas females will do so. And that's why there's this kind of heavily skewed bias towards females at the moment. I know we're seeing young males in the form of Marips and Kuchava's cub and Shasha, but that's because their moms are leaving them in places, and they're still little. Once they get bigger, obviously it becomes more tricky. All right, we're going to leave these guys, go see what else we can find. Hopefully something will pop out somewhere along the way.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa, and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing, and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank Wild Earth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely, a relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back, everybody. We are still sitting with these dogs. There was quite a bit of behavior, quite a bit of movement, actually, shall I say, in the meanwhile, while these animals have, well, while they've been up and about and going. You can see the alpha pair has just been joining in that motion each other there. And so I'm starting to finally think that they're going to wait for the moonlight rather than starting to go out on a hunt right now. As you can see, we lost all of our light, basically. And the sun is about to set behind the clouds. Not really full-on setting yet, but yeah, we've got that dense cloud cover in the west. And the sun is dropping in behind that now. But yeah, beautiful seeing these dogs still, and it was a great pleasure actually spending the afternoon here and being able to show them to everybody. And just seeing the different motions that we went through with them. I think what we're going to do is, with that beautiful, shall I say, honeymoon couple that we're looking at right there, as they just joined each other in great love, we're going to leave them and leave the dogs with that last point of view. So what we're going to do is now, we're going to continue going out as Morgan is showing us the eastern sections there. We're going to drive into those directions, closer towards the mountains. But there's, in this ecotype in the west out here that we were talking about earlier, as you can see, there's a bit of thickets in around these sections as well. So there's a bit of pans, like concrete pans in these areas. And so some of these pans, it would be quite nice for us actually to go sit at one particular one that we're hoping to go sit down there and just wait in silent modes, as well as we could possibly get some brown hyena coming in out, as their population is quite high in amounts in these areas, and we might see some other nocturnal animals coming into those pans. And that pan gives you the sort of idea that you're in this vast, shall I say, African wilderness that you're sitting in, and you really get the feeling, especially as you go into nighttime. So we're going to leave these precious dogs, and hopefully they get something during the night up to the day of tomorrow. So we're going to continue going further east, leaving them by now, and see if we can get those animals at that pan, and also see what else we can get on the way east. Right, let's say goodbye to these precious animals until next time. So we're going to just pull around them here, not to disturb them, as they're still sitting on the edge of the bush there. Alice, you're asking what nocturnal animals are very common in Tswalu. So typically you could get quite a bit of porcupines at night on your routes of night drives deep into the night. A very common species is actually the spring hare, or we joke with them, actually we say it's the Kalahari kangaroo, because it literally looks like a little kangaroo. And yeah, so those guys come out shortly after the sun has been setting. But mostly we find them with spotlight events most of the time. From a predator point of view, you could get brown hyenas, leopards close to the mountains, you could get, yes, there's quite a wide range. I mean, from leaving the predators behind, looking at stuff like the striped polecats, and which is almost like a skunky type of animal. About a few weeks ago, we spoke about the, well, they look like a skunk actually, but we spoke about, the team spoke about the striped polecat, which is rather a very rare species to find on drive actually. But yeah, in the Kalahari they flourish actually, but what makes it so tough to find those striped polecat at this given point in time is actually the tall grasses and the tall vegetation in certain areas that's making it quite difficult. Folks, just before we leave this area, I just want to show you that gorgeous view that we're having of the sun setting behind the clouds. Just look at that. So what I'm going to do is, for about 10 seconds to 15 seconds or so, I just want you to adore that and just look at that gorgeous sunset with that tree on the top of the slight rise of the dune. That's really something that could take your breath entirely away. As you could hear, there's a couple of barking geckos that was actually starting to chirp along with the crepuscular light starting to approach. Beautiful barking geckos that was chatting along, but isn't that just a painting in the skies of the Kalahari? That is something to look at for sure. And that you are commenting, that is magnificent scenery. I couldn't agree more once again. I mean, that is really, it does look like a painting. And I mean, you see all those, the songs in the world goes, every cloud has a silver lining. This is more like a golden lining. It is just so beautiful seeing the colorations and the yellow colors coming out there to the golden colors to the blue sky on top of this all. How dramatic is that? I mean, that is just so special. Beautiful. Really stunning. So folks, we're going to continue going and drive off towards that pan that we were talking about. But so stunning seeing that images of the Kalahari this time of the year. Stunning, stunning. Yeah, so as I was saying previously, we're talking about the nocturnal animals presence and so on. You could easily come across a night drive, seeing all those, the commonly found species being those spring hare, as well as the porcupines, brown hyenas and those guys. But yeah, generally coming over to the endangered species, like the pangolin being a very iconical species to the Kalahari. And being the reason for most of our guests and our visitors coming here to actually trying to find those guys, along with the wild dogs and many other rare and endangered species that occurs in the Kalahari. Excuse me. But yeah, looking at these formations as well, along with nocturnal activities, looking at archvark as well. That is a very cool species to find at night. It's got a long snout and beautiful tall long ears out and about over there. Here we are, back onto the road on our way back east. Andre, you asking if I've seen any snakes recently? About a few days ago, actually, there's been cobra activity around the meerkat burrows, close to the, I think it was the Mokala group, that one of the guides have seen small little cobras have been hatching out from eggs in a certain area close to that burrow systems. But yeah, I mean, it didn't affect the meerkats really. It's just a couple of youngsters that was hatched out. from that given position. But yeah, Cape Cobras is generally the species that you find most of the time in these areas, most of the year. And then looking at the puff adders, which is also occurring in the dunes, but in the dunes you see a very special species with two little, I want to say it's like two little short horns about this length on the head of it, and that's called a horned adder. And that you do see if you look very carefully on the dunes. Especially now it's a bit difficult with the tall grasses on the dunes, but yeah, if you go walk the dunes and you sit silently sometimes, you hear this hissing sound coming out of the bush, and it sounds like this massive snake, but you come closer and it's just this tiny little thing about this long. It's crazy actually thinking about it, talking about the length and the distances. So these are some of the dried pans that's coming up here. We're gonna just make a loop around this section as the road's bending around this section. We are driving past one of the pans, and these roads will never drive through the pans because it is what it is. Looking at these pans, it is quite a protected area in Tswalu, having these dried up pans, and then some of these pans have got water, and this is one of them that we're heading over to for a potential animal to come through to drink. But as I was saying, with these pans, why they are so protected, it's actually in a case that you get like fairy shrimps and things like that appears, that lays in dormant soils, well, dormant in the soils deep down, and once the water levels raises up again, they come into these temporary associations of these pans and so on. But yeah, coming back to the snake activity itself, I'd say about a week ago was the last snake that was seen. But yeah, we've got a lot of research work that's been done on the reserve through our snake researcher. His name is Tilo, and he does a lot for figuring out on the climate change. Well, a lot of the research work that's been done from the Tswalu Foundation point of view has been done for the fact of climate change and what impact it has on the animals' bodies and how it comes into the ecosystem and how it fits into everything. But quite funnily enough, thinking about how human activity was stalled the last year through all the lockdowns and everything, a lot of the human activity that was stalled created a lot of areas rainfalls and rainfall in abundance to return to areas and so on. And I mean, I can't say it for a fact, but we have seen a change in the environment where rains have started to return to normalities, and even to more than normalities, almost want to say abnormal rain in bucketing amounts, as you've been seeing. And look at again, there's huge rain formations almost every evening that we're looking at as it comes through. But yeah, most of it is done of that research work from a snake research point of view to the pangolin researching and all of that. Kyla, you're asking, are majority of the snakes found on Tswalu or in the Kalahari, are they venomous? Yes, most of them are quite venomous in these areas and environments and so on. And lots of them actually have venom types like cytotoxins over to neurotoxins. The boomslang is one of the few ones that's got a hemotoxic venom in this area. But yeah, we've got the tiger snakes, which is rather harmless, as well as the brown house snakes and the mole snakes that's not that extremely dangerous and so on. But yeah, majority of the snakes that you find in the Kalahari region is quite productive with venom and so. And it all comes down to, again, to the environment that we're living in. And as you're looking at most of these plants, I mean, it's quite a spiny, thorny plant formation that you find out here. And just by looking at the plants, for instance, that tells us such a huge story of this environment, of how it all comes together in the formation of how everything needs to have some sort of form, either in the form of protection or in the sense of like sort of injecting venom in this case of snakes and so on to hunt down their prey easier in these areas. So we passed by quite a bit of oryx actually as we've been coming through here in this area as well, but yeah, they're quite a far distance off would be a bit difficult to put them on the screen there as well. But yeah, very, very beautiful. This area that changes over. Just wanted to actually show you while we're driving through this area something quite interesting on these bushes that we're looking at here. So Morgan, if we can just zoom in on this bush over here a bit on the side here, if we can try that. So what's interesting about this vegetation, you'll see this particular plant has got 3 spines, 3 stems coming off, and this is actually where the bush's name is coming from, being a 3-thorn thicket or a 3-thorn bush or a shrub as it comes through. So looking at those 3 stems growing off a specific internode and a petiole leaping off into a internode and a node, that is where all of these stems will branch off from coming through. So as you look at it, this entire area is flooded with this 3-thorn bushes as it is. And this 3-thorn bush got its name from those 3 stems, as I said. But thorns indirectly is actually more a situation where it's modified stems and leaves. So every thorn or spike, as you wish, if I can put it that way, is generally in a formation that it's a thorn to humans, but yes, it's still leaves and spines coming off as it comes through. But yeah, looking at these particular thickets, the soil type in this area, if I can just pick up some of the soil here, you'll see it's still a reddish color, but a much lighter reddish color that you're looking at. We're going to actually just put it up into the board here. Looking at that, the sand is very light in color as opposed to the red, extremely red soils that we've had in the in the central sections of the reserve, in the dunes formations. But if you scratch around in this, you'll see there's white particles and whiter type of particles coming out here, actually, like that little, I don't know if Morgan would be able to see that. Yes, it's on the screen. So that white particles is typically the calcrete from the calcrete from the last deposits of the inland ocean in this particular environment. And there's a bit of quartz and quartzite that's coming through in these formations. And quartz is actually not really a reddish soil. Well, quartz material is not coming from a red rock type. It's more quartz that has been, how can I say this? It's more in a situation where it's like it's been rusted from oxidation on the rocks and so on, and that being altered chemically and physically into the soils as it weathers down, it will create those reddish soils coming through. So it's more rock types that's been made dirty. Yes, I'm battling to explain this actually, but yeah, it's been made dirty actually. Whereas if you look at the soils out in the west, that last deposits of the inland ocean that was in this area is what makes it so white. Lana, you're asking which animals will make use of this bush, and that is actually the next thing that I was heading into, actually thinking about explaining what is the reasoning behind this bush and why I actually wanted to stop here. Because the soil and the type of minerals from that calcrete that you find in the soils, making it a bit lighter in color, is the reasoning behind all of these bushes that you see out and about here. And having these bushes, the type of minerals that you find in the soil will create the type of vegetation that you have there. And because of that presence of these 3-thorn bushes, that is typically animals like your mixed feeders, like eland, that would come through here. You could get big animals that would generally feed on the stems and twigs, like even kudu would feed and break off a little soft modified stem, as we've explained it. And as you look at that inside, just to open that up a bit, it's actually very interesting looking at the amount of greenery inside there. You can see how green that is actually looking at the inside, and there's a lot of moisture in these plants. So kudu doesn't just eat on the leaves of the tree or of the shrub itself, but I'm going to actually put it down there so Morgan can focus on it. But looking at that, it's got that point of view where they will eat the soft stems as well, because that will give you the possibility of a great nutritional buildup as it is. So because of the presence of all of these animals that we were talking about, that is the reason why we've had that gorgeous pack of wild dogs hunting through an area like this. So they can swap over from the environment out here in the west over into the dunes, as we spoke about their splash coloration earlier on. But just wanted to show you how the soil color is so much different, changing the vegetation because of the minerals in the area. So, called Rygosum thicket, as they've been known in the Kalahari, coming from the Latin name, or the three-thorn thicket, which is actually more about the stems. It's 3 stems sprouting out in 3 different directions from every single node, branching off as it comes through. But yeah, very cool. Let's clean off our sandy structure here. Let's continue going further down the road and see if we can get to that pan. Yugal, you are commenting and saying that the soil looks like brown sugar. Yes, it does actually. It's actually crazy. That's a really good way of comparing it actually. If you look at the blood red soils that you find in the dunes actually, that's twice as much as red as this. And here, it's just a very light color because we're in that thicket line in the west and having this type of vegetation here. But what a cool way, actually, I agree, actually, that's a very cool way of comparing the color of the soil. So if you go to the dunes coloration information, it would be like yes, in some areas of the reserve, it's almost like a maroon red. That's how red it is. And the reds in the soils comes more from a rock mineral that is called hematite. The description of it is actually saying boiling blood. And that is why it's so red. And in comparison with, well, alongside with the other rock minerals and presences in that soils being like iron oxides that's coming into it all, alongside with obviously the rusted quartzite materials that's presented in these soils. So 3 coloring factors that makes it very blood red. But if you look at these surfaces that we're driving through here again, I mean, you can see how lighter in color this becomes actually here as well. Again, because of that concrete presence. Just to show, this is actually a very good example. Sorry, we're stopping here again, but this is actually what we were talking about. Looking at these minerals that we're looking at here, if you look at that. So if you look at that, you can see that is, it's literally in a formation that you can see that it looks like it could break down very easily as well. And what happens is it comes out like rocks and rocks formation. So what's happened here is it's a fossilized structure that's gone through sedimentary processes, and it's gotten to a process that years of water vaporization that's been happening from the underground water tables. Obviously, we're living in a very hot environment. So in this hot environment, as the temperatures goes sky high during the daytime, you get a lot of evaporation happening. So years and thousands of years of evaporation from the inland ocean that sunken below the surfaces, that moisture been pulled to the surfaces, and it then comes to this, shall I say, the soil surface on the top. And then it starts clinging onto each other, going through these sedimentary structures. As the moisture then escapes the surface, going into the air, the calcrete deposits then stays behind in that mineral formation. So then you get to that point that it will compact together and form these whitish rocks. And this is actually what I picked up. So just to give you a bit of idea, I want to show you, Morgan, if we can just quickly focus on the board here again, just to look at what's going to happen on the black. Look at that amount of white dust coming off there. And what that is just snow white minerals coming out of there from the concrete presence. And that is what created the soils being so white. And that minerals being presented there, that is actually what created the Rygosum thickets being so present in this environment, alongside obviously dragging the different animals into this area. So what you're looking at here is years and years and years of evaporization that's been happening over thousands of years of time, but it could break down to very fine material easily again because it comes from a water source as it comes through. Very, very interesting. Cool beans. I just wanted to show you guys that as we continued going. So let's continue going down the road. Morgan, did you hear that question? Okay, so Christopher, you're asking, were there any mineral rocks used by Bushmen? You know what, the Bushmen made use of a lot of plant material in this environment, thinking about dune plants like the soap bush, and talking about some of the fruits that we looked at on the screen over the last few days and so on. But looking at the rocks itself, they sharpened. So they sharpened the tools actually quite a bit on the on some of the rock materials, basically on the certain sections closer to the mountains and so where the engravings were out and about that. But yeah, let's continue down the road a bit. So as I was saying, some of the rock materials, like we found some places in the mountains actually where it's quite nicely displayed, where we could see where the tools have been sharpened in certain areas and so on. And so as it's been coming through in a certain region, to tell the story of the environment. Apologies for that technical difficulties we've just had there, folks. So we, as I was saying earlier on, we're going to just continue going towards that pan and see if we can find those animals. We don't have much time left of drive, unfortunately, but we're going to mission through to that spot where we can possibly get to that pan in time and hopefully get to see some nocturnal life coming through there. But yeah, we're going to continue going and speeding up a tiny bit just to get there in time before we lose all of the light. And but yeah, it'd be so cool if we can just switch off at that waterhole for a bit and just watch and hopefully get to see some of these elusive creatures to come out to drink at some of those ancient waterholes. That's some of the last deposits and remains of the inland ocean in this environment. What's so amazing about Tswalu is driving from these different soil types into different areas. Anna, you're asking if there's a possibility of seeing bush babies on Tswalu at night. The climate and the environment and the food resources, those three factors, it's not the right, all of that is not adequate for bush babies. So in this environment, so you won't really find bush babies in the Kalahari that I have ever seen or heard about. So yeah, bush babies mostly in Kruger Park in those areas and so on. But you're looking at the bigger picture here. Closest thing to a bush baby is actually not a bush baby, it's a bird, but got a similar type of ways of talking about the name being a nighttime type of creature, is actually a nightjar. And the nightjars you find out here being the rufous cheek nightjar. And so those guys would be a possibility of seeing them out and about, being obviously a bird. being very different than mammalian life, but yeah. Driving past another dried up pan that we're just looping around here. So as I was saying, yeah, it's gorgeous to just drive from one area to another, from the dunes to this thicket line in the west. As you can see, there's quite a lot of these ragozum thickets around here, and into such a different area, passing over from one area to another in diversity formations. And so it looks like there's a giraffe coming out to this one particular pan here, coming out from the side. Giraffe passing into, I thought it's a giraffe with a baby, but I see it's a bull that's over there, and there's a dried stem of a dead tree right next to it as well. Now, I don't know if you can hear that sound that's coming from the waterhole there. I'm just going to keep quiet, and we're going to try and push up the ambient a bit so you can hear. So those sounds that's coming out and about there, that is bubbling casinas, being a frog. And so those guys are calling in what you, well, they're calling in a certain formation that you call satellite behavior. And satellite behavior is where all these frogs are calling at once at the same time, and they generally at this pan where there's a lot of reeds and so on. They try to climb to the top ends and the highest points of these reeds, try to call from those positions, as the voices could be broadcasted to a much further destination as opposed to some others. So being in a satellite behavior from frogs calling at the same time, the females need to be listening out for a male that's the voice is carried out the furthest as well as the loudest. Then you get frogs having timeshare calling, like your typical painted reed frogs and things like that, where they call, like the one will make a whistle, like, and the other one goes, and the other one goes, and so it's constantly just giving each other a chance to, if I can put it this way, lay their own eggs in that formation, putting their voice out there. Gorgeous to see that giraffe standing in that view, a couple of shepherd's trees along with the ragozum thickets around there. If Morgan can just show us this pan here, it's beautiful seeing this pan where these frogs are calling from. And there are water resource in this formation here. You can see the reeds in the center section of one of these pans out here. And you can hear those frogs calling constantly. Justine, you're asking, do the frogs sleep at night? You actually get frogs being quite active during this time, being at crepuscular times, dawn and dusk. And so I've seen them actually calling quite a bit during this time, and they actually start mating quite a bit during the nighttime processes as it comes through. But different species are different as opposed to others that is day active. Like mammal or like mammalian life, you do get sometimes where you get some mammals that's active at daytime, and then obviously your nocturnal. It's nocturnal activity versus day active activity. And same goes with the frogs, but majority of your frog life comes through to a formation that they do get active during this time of the day, during crepuscular light and time, and up to like the first 3-4 hours into nighttime. I think what we're going to do is we're going to continue driving down this road. There's actually another pan that I was hoping to get to reach actually out further east, and see if we can get some of those brown hyenas. There's a possibility that we might even get some on the way down there to the water. So yeah, let's see if we can reach that other pan. It's very nice and open, and that's the reason why I want to go through to that other one.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
We get asked quite regularly what are the differences between African and Asian elephants. We caught up with Haresh, who's from Leopard Trails, which is based in Sri Lanka.
Of course, size and weight is the first thing you notice. The African elephant is much bigger than the Asian elephant. Tusks in the Asian elephant, it's a very small percentage of male elephants only who have tusks. I was told that there's a theory that the African elephant's ear is in the shape of Africa. The Asian elephant has a much smaller ear. The elephant represents the bush and the jungle in Sri Lanka in a quintessential manner, and I think it's very important that we do whatever we can to protect them.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Yeah.
I just saw she tagged me in something as well.
What is she sending to me now? I hope it's not a flippin' bad comment.